Ladies and gentlemen, the Railroad Hour. And here comes our star-studded show train. Tonight, the Association of American Railroads presents a great musical hit, The Red Mill, starring Gene Kelly, Lucille Norman, and your host, Gordon MacRae. Our choir is under the direction of Norman Luboff, and our music is arranged and conducted by Carmen Dragon. Yes, tonight another great musical success is brought to you by the American Railroads, the same railroads that also bring you most of the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the fuel you burn, and all the other things you use in your daily life. And now, here is Gordon MacRae.
Thank you and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On stage tonight is one of the happiest shows that ever hit Broadway. It's The Red Mill, with book and lyrics by Henry Blossom and music by Victor Herbert. David Montgomery and Fred Stone were starred when The Red Mill first started spinning, and audiences cheered the same show last season when it was brought back to Broadway with great success. For the 1949 radio version, however, Montgomery and Stone become Kelly and MacRae. The Kelly, of course, is one of Hollywood's most popular screen personalities, Mr. Gene Kelly.
Thank you, yep. Just for tonight, Gordy and I are going to slip on a couple of checkered vests and straw hats.
And we'll be sporting two of the corniest names that ever bounced off a balcony.
What do they call you, boy?
Why, I'm Kid Connor.
What a coincidence. I'm Con Kidder. Pretty grim, huh?
Say, wait till you meet Lucille Norman and Alan Reed.
Yeah?
They play a couple of Dutch characters in Katwijk aan Zee.
Katwijk on Come Again?
Well, you'll be there in a minute. So, shall we bring up the curtain, Mr. Kidder?
I'm in favor of it, Mr. Connor. Okay. Here's Act One of Victor Herbert's The Red Mill. Mr. Conductor, if you please.
In old New York, the peach crop's always fine. They're sweet and fair, and on the square, the maids of Manhattan for mine. You cannot see in gay Paris, in London, or in Court. The queens you'll meet on any street in old New York.
Oh, Con, what do you want to go to Europe for?
Romance, boy. Have you got any romance in your soul?
Sure I have, but what's so romantic about Europe?
Why, we can visit all the ancient capitals, gaze on the enchanting scenery, drink in the grandeur of Europe's historic majesty. Besides, we might even meet some good-looking babes.
Well, I'm for that.
Not that there aren't plenty of them right here in America. If a spare afternoon you should happen to have, and you start on a leisurely stroll up Fifth Avenue, there is where, with haughty air, you'll see them as they walk, with velvets and laces and sables enfolding them. Really, you'll nearly drop dead on beholding them. Lucky's the Earl who can marry a girl from Fifth Avenue, New York. In old New York, the peach crop's always fine. They're sweet and fair, and on the square, the maids of Manhattan for mine. You cannot see in gay Paris, in London, or in Cork. The queens you'll meet on any street in old New York. Just the same, kid. I want to make the trip.
Well, you could go to Paris and marry a French countess.
Or go to Holland, marry a Dutch duchess.
When there's a boat sail.
Tomorrow.
Let's go. Goodbye, New York. Goodbye, New York. We're sailing on our way. Farewell to Queens and Bowling Greens and Brooklyn and Battery Bay.
We'll make our home in Nice and Rome and Rotterdam and Cork.
a kiss for each,
and every peach. Goodbye, New York.
So this is Holland.
Hi, Holland.
I wonder what kind of money they use here. Francs, marks?
Whatever it is, we haven't got any.
Hey, what about using those bottle caps, huh?
How do you think I tipped the porter at the railroad station?
Well, we got to find a place to sleep tonight.
And it's got to be cheap sleep.
Hey, let's ask that little Fräulein over there.
Okay. Hey, Mabel.
Yes?
Miss, we can't afford a hotel room. Any idea where we could sleep tonight?
Well, I don't know.
How about that Red Mill? We can just sneak inside and sleep there. I'll bet it'd be real warm and comfortable.
Yes, very cozy. Just the three of you.
Three?
You two and the ghost.
That mill is haunted?
Every night at midnight, the ghost of a poor, unhappy bride rises up and walks to the Red Mill, searching for her lost lover, Henry.
Thank you, and good night, Red Mill.
Say, tell me, miss, how do you know about all this?
Well, I live in this town. I'm the daughter of the burgomaster.
Oh, what's your name?
Gretchen. What's yours?
Connor. But they call me Kid.
Mine's Kidder, but they call me Cod.
Oh, American. Yes, you are rich American.
We are Americans, yes. We are rich, no.
Oh, how sad. I am rich, yet I too am sad.
Girl, don't be silly. How could anybody be rich and sad at the same time?
Well, tomorrow is my wedding day. Tomorrow, by this time, I shall be the wife of the fat old governor of Zealand.
If you don't love him, why marry him?
I'm just like the ghost in the Red Mill. My father is forcing me into this marriage.
Now, look, a pretty girl like you shouldn't worry. Everything will work out.
Gretch, you've got nothing to worry about. The Rover boys are here.
I used to be happy. I used to sing all the time.
Well, why stop now?
When you're pretty and the world is fair, why be bothered by a thought or a care? For to worry is to double trouble. There'll be enough of that hereafter. Merry youth is like the month of May, and old age is like December gray. So we'll dance and sing and play and be happy while we may. Life was made for love and laughter. And the world is fair. Why be bothered by a thought or care? For to worry is to double trouble. There'll be enough of that hereafter. Merry youth is like the month of May, and old age is like December gray. So we'll dance and sing and play. We'll dance and sing and play. Be happy while we December gray. So we'll dance and sing and play. We'll dance and sing and play. Be happy while we
Hey, I've got an idea.
Yeah?
Gretchen can't marry the governor of Zealand tomorrow if she marries somebody else today.
But who would marry me on such short notice?
Boy, anybody in his right mind. I'll marry you right now.
Why, you hardly know me.
You think of a better way to get acquainted?
You see, in America, we do things fast. Why, I'm falling in love with you at 80 miles an hour.
And wait till he shifts into second gear.
Oh, boys, you take my breath away. I don't understand how this happens so fast.
You haven't seen very many musical comedies, have you, girl?
Well, I can give you a pretty simple explanation. Love is a strange little elfin sprite, blessed with the deadliest aim, shooting his arrows to left and right, bagging the rarest game, filling our hearts with a glad surprise, almost too good to be true.
And still, can you tell me, why do you love me?
Only because you are you, dear.
Not that I am
Not that you are fair,
Not that I am
not that you are
Not
true,
my golden
not
hair,
your
dear.
golden hair,
Not my eyes
dear,
of
not
blue.
your eyes of
When
blue.
we ask the
When we ask
reason,
the reason, these are all too few.
I know
I love you, dear, because I love you,
Hey, Gretch, where do people go in this country when they want to get married?
To the burgomaster. Oh, but my father's the burgomaster here, so we'll have to go to the next town.
Come with us, Con. You can be the best man and give the bride away.
Just one moment, my fine young friend.
Father!
Have you forgotten, my dear Gretchen? The ceremony is to be tomorrow, not tonight. It is to be held here, not in the next town. And the bridegroom, not this silly young American, but His Excellency, the Governor of Zealand.
Hey, you're pretty high-handed, Mr. Burgomaster. A girl can marry anyone she chooses back where we come from in little old New York.
Well, this is little old Cotwick on Z. And we do things differently here. Gretchen, since you seem to be so fond of this old red mill, I think I shall lock you up here overnight.
No!
And here you shall stay until the governor arrives to lead you to the altar.
Oh, Father!
In you go.
You can't lock her up. You can't do this. You can't force her to. You can't.
I guess he can.
Good day, gentlemen. I trust your stay in our village will be both enjoyable and brief. Ha ha. Ha ha.
You know, I think I've seen that guy someplace before.
Yeah, on a beer mug.
Gretchen, are you all right?
It's so dark in here. I'm frightened.
Have you seen the ghost?
No, not yet.
Or when you see her, ask her if she's got a friend. A live one.
Listen, Gretchen, you stay right there.
Well, she'll do that all right.
We'll find some way to get you out. And if you get scared, why just sing. That's the best way to keep your spirits up. And I'll sing along with you outside the mill. When we ask a reason, I know I love you, dear,
Before the start of the second act of the Red Mill, let's do what most everybody else is doing and talk about high prices. We've all felt them, and that goes for the railroads just the same as it does for anyone else. Let's look at it this way. You buy groceries and fuel and maybe a new car. Well, the railroads also buy groceries and fuel and new cars and locomotives and 100,000 different things that it takes to keep the trains running. Yes, sir, the railroads feel higher prices, too, and are just as concerned about them as folks in general.
Oh, yes, I know. But I've heard it said that higher railroad rates have had a lot to do with the rise in prices.
No, the fact is it's just the other way. Higher prices came first, long before there was any increase in railroad rates, and they made higher rates necessary. Between 1939 and the middle of 1946, the level of wholesale prices of all kinds of things had gone up an average of 43%.
43%?
Yes, and it was only then, on the 1st of July, 1946, that the first post-war railroad rate increase of 6.5% went into effect. Now, you wouldn't say that rising railroad rates caused that rise in prices, would you? The rates hadn't increased.
All right. But how about today?
The latest government figures show that the prices of commodities at wholesale are 107% higher than they were in 1939.
And railroad freight rates, how much higher?
As of tomorrow, when new rates go into effect, railroad freight rates will have increased 52% above 1939, less than half as much as the increase in prices generally.
What about the prices railroads have to pay for things they buy and use?
Well, the biggest item in railroad expenses is wages, and wage levels are up 83% above 1939. The next biggest is materials, supplies, and fuel, and they're up 118%. The fact is, increased freight rates are the effect of rising prices and wages, not their cause. We're ready for the second act of Victor Herbert's The Red Mill, starring Gene Kelly, Lucille Norman, and your host, Gordon MacRae.
The night was still, the ghost like the mill kept waving its spectral arm, and those around heard mystical sounds which thrilled them with vague alarm.
It's awfully quiet. Yeah, I never heard so much silence. Hey, what are those voices?
Just the wind.
What's that?
Just the old mill turning. Looks just like a person, doesn't it? Waving his arms in the moonlight, crying out for help.
I want to go home. The Empire State Building never affected me like this.
But the girl I love is inside there.
But the boy I love is outside here.
Gretchen, are you all right? Gretchen! She's gone.
She's smart. Lets us go, too.
No, wait a minute. You don't suppose the ghost has kidnapped her?
I don't know, but there's a figure up there in the tower of the mill, all white in the moonlight.
Is it Gretchen or the ghost?
Well, I can't tell from here, but it begins with a G.
Listen.
And the birds have sought the nest. The shadows fall in a darkening hall, and the weary world at rest. The stars are awakening one by one. The whispering breezes are still. The moon shining bright with a radiant light is silvering valley on hill.
Gretchen, is that you?
Who else would it be?
Gretch, how'd you get way up there?
I climbed up the stairs inside the mill.
Well, how are we going to get you out?
I don't think anybody will ever get me out.
Oh, I can't see your face in the moonlight, but I know you're as lovely as the moonbeams themselves. Moonbeams shining soft above, let me beg of you, find the one I dearly love, tell her I'll ever be true.
Fate may part us, years may pass, future all unknown.
ghost's boyfriend.
Farewell, Henry, my love.
Gone.
Moonbeam shining soft above, let me beg of you, find the one I dearly love, tell her I'll ever be
Fate may part us, years may pass, future all unknown. Still my love shall prove faithful to him Fate may part them, years may pass, future all unknown.
Still my love shall ever be.
Faithful to
Hendrick.
Who's Hendrick?
Well, that's the name of the ghost's boyfriend.
Farewell, Henry, my love.
Gone.
Con. We've got to get Gretchen out of there. We can't let her marry the old governor of Zealand. I'm in love with her.
A fine thing. Millions of girls in this world, and you have to fall in love with one who's locked up in a mill. This boy always does things the hard way.
Now, wait a minute, Con. Didn't you ever fall in love?
Sure, 365 times a year.
Every day?
Sure.
With a different girl?
I don't eat the same egg every morning for breakfast. Oh, every day is ladies' day with me. I'm quite at their disposal all the while. And my pleasure, it is double if they come to me in trouble, for I always find a way to make them smile. The little darlings. No doubt I should have married long ago. It's the proper thing to do, you'll all agree. But I never could find any fun in wasting all my time on one. So every day is ladies' day with me. Now it's a frightful thing to think of all the hearts that I have broken, though each one fell in love with me without the slightest token. Among my vulgar creditors, I'm fearfully in debt, because I have afforded anything that I could get. But I must say that I've enjoyed the best of what there is in life. I've been lucky in my love affairs. I've never had a wife. And I don't begrudge the little dears those necklaces of pearls. All the money that I've ever saved is what I've spent on girls. For every day is ladies' day with me.
Every day is ladies' day with
I'm quite at their disposal all the while. My pleasure, it is double if they come to me in trouble, for I always find a way to make them smile. The little darlings. No doubt I should have married long ago. It's the proper thing to do, you'll all agree. But I never could find any fun in wasting all my time on one. So every day is ladies' day with me.
Every day is ladies' day.
Hey, every day is ladies' day with me.
Okay. So you want to play the field, go ahead. But how are we going to get Gretchen out of the mill?
I wonder whose side the ghost is on.
Wait a minute. I got an idea. Watch the blades in the mill.
Uh-huh.
Now, suppose you grabbed hold of one of the wings when it sweeps close to the ground.
Uh-huh.
Hang onto it, swing on up, and over the top.
Uh-huh.
And rescue Gretchen out of the tower window on the way down.
Uh-uh.
Oh, now, come on, Con. Go ahead and do it. I'll stay right here and direct the whole maneuver.
Great idea. Great. There's only one little change I'd like to suggest.
What's that?
You do it. I'll stay down here.
Okay. She's my girl. I'll do anything for her. Gretchen, can you hear me?
Yes?
Look, I'm going to try to rescue you. Climb up the stairs on the inside of the mill all the way up to the tower window.
All right, but what are you going to do?
I'm going to swing up in one of the arms of the mill and rescue you.
Oh, be careful.
Be careful, she said.
Well, good luck, kid. Hey, be sure you get the right one.
Right one? What do you mean?
Well, don't get the ghost by mistake.
Well, how will I make sure it's Gretchen?
As soon as you grab her, kiss her. If she tastes like an ice cube, you've got the wrong girl.
Okay, here I go.
So long, kid. Au voyage.
Oh! Gretchen, lean out.
I'm leaning.
Farther, lean out all over.
Ready, set,
Grab.
Oh, this is the ground. All out.
Are you all right, Gretchen?
Fine.
Now nobody can say you two haven't been going around together.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for getting me out of that awful mill.
Oh, it was nothing.
Well, now we've got to get away from your father.
Where'll we go?
Oh, any place. Just so it doesn't have a burgomaster, and it does have you. In the beautiful isle of our dreams, dear, there is never a sorrow or pain. Every trouble and care quickly vanishes there, and all is made happy again. So we'll leave this cold, weary old world, dear, where there's nothing that's quite warm, it seems. And we'll sail o'er the sea, wherefore just you and me. There's a home in the isle of our dreams. So we'll leave this cold, weary old world, dear, where there's nothing that's pure as it seems. And we'll sail o'er the sea, wherefore just you and me. There's a home in
Well, so long, kids. Have fun.
Well, aren't you coming with us, Con?
Ah, three's a crowd on that island you're talking about. Besides, I want to stay here and see the look on the burgomaster's face tomorrow morning when he unlocks the door of the Red Mill and finds a great, big, beautiful nothing. Ah, good morning, Mr. Burgomaster.
Master.
Master Burgomaster.
Mr. Burgomaster. Good morning, good morning.
That doesn't matter. What brings you out to the mill so early, Mr. Burgomaster?
Just checking up on my daughter.
Too late. She's already checked out.
What? Where is she? Gretchen, are you in there? Gretchen! What became of her? Where did she go? Well, wake up the townspeople. Gather round here, everybody. My daughter. I'll find out who kidnapped my daughter. And if it happened to be a couple of Americans, I'll make them wish they never set foot in Catwick-on-Sea.
Gretchen is gone! Gretchen is
Tomorrow there will be a small rise in railroad freight rates, and you might hear it said that higher freight rates have a lot to do with higher prices. As we said a little while ago, it's the other way round. At the end of the war, railroad freight rates were no higher than they were when war began. In fact, the prices of commodities generally and the operating costs of railroads had already gone up more than 40% before there was any post-war increase in railroad freight rates. Even with the new rates, which go into effect tomorrow, the percentage of increase in rail freight rates will be less than half as great as the increase in price levels generally. One more thing to remember. Since the war, railroad freight charges have amounted on the average to a smaller fraction of the price of things you buy than they did either during or before the war. The Railroad Hour show train will return in just a moment after a brief pause for station identification. Now for Act 3 of Victor Herbert's The Red Mill, starring Gene Kelly, Lucille Norman, and your Railroad Hour host, Gordon MacRae.
Why the silence? Was there violence? Or did not regression simply up and run away? If not really, very clearly, they should stop the silly gossiping without delay. What to handle, such a scandal, puts the burgomaster in a very sorry plight. You'll discover, she'd a lover, and she secretly eloped with him last night.
Oh, quiet!
We'll discover.
Stop all this noise and gossiping. Quiet, all of you, quiet. I suppose all of you know that my daughter has disappeared, and I intend to find her, and she will marry the governor of Zealand according to plan.
How are we going to find her, Mr. Burgomaster?
I have just learned that the two greatest detectives in the world are visiting Holland, Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Yes, they are just a few miles from here, and I'm sending them a telegraph message to come at once and find my daughter. I shall spare no expense. Money is no object.
Money is no object?
None.
Is that the telegram you have there in your hand?
It is?
Do you want me to send it for you, Mr. Burgomaster?
Well, that's very kind of you, my boy. But let me warn all of you, if the culprit happens to be within earshot, he may as well give himself up now, for Sherlock Holmes will run him down.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Connor.
We aren't Mr. and Mrs. yet.
No, he didn't get married.
Why not?
No money.
Boy, have I got the cure for that.
Huh?
Look at this telegram.
Oh,
This is awful.
Sherlock Holmes will be sure to find it.
I don't think he's that good. You see, he never got the telegram. Kid, your new name is Dr. Watson. Shake hands with Sherlock Holmes.
Huh? Oh, I'm beginning to get it.
Sure, it's as simple as going around on a windmill. We masquerade as the detectives and make enough money to get you married.
Swell.
There's only one trouble. You've never really asked me to marry you.
Haven't I? Well, I guess we better make this official. He'll tell you all the magic of those little words we two. I'll teach you how to say, my dear, the one I love is you.
There's lots of things he ought to know, but don't forget to see
That he correctly learns to say, I want you to marry me. Well, I guess I ought to say it. Con, help me out, will you? How do you say a thing like this?
Why, it's simple. You just take in your arms. You look into your eyes and you say, baby, here I am, your dream man. Don't fight it. How can you resist me?
Well, I'm afraid that's a little too modest for me. It's got to be something tender. Gretchen,
Yes?
I want you to marry me. Will you do it?
Oh, yeah.
Is that yes?
It's Dutch for yes, but it's just as good.
We'll tell you all the magic of those little words we do, and sing a song that says, my dear, the one I love is you.
There's lots of things he ought to know, but I'll be sure to see
That I correctly learned to say, I want you to marry me.
All right already, all right. You can stop being Romeo and start being Dr. Watson. We've got some plain and fancy Sherlocking to do. Well, Dr. Watson, how do I look?
Oh, very Baker Street, Mr. Holmes.
Am I wearing my deer stalker cap correctly?
Well, I don't think you're supposed to wear it sideways.
What if you're stalking deer sideways?
Careful. Here comes the burgomaster.
Gentlemen,
Oh, here we go now. Aha! You are the burgomaster of Catwick-on-Sea.
why, that's amazing. How did you know me, Mr. Holmes?
Elementary, my dear burgomaster, but far beyond your powers of deduction. I want you to meet my assistant and eminent colleague, the celebrated Dr. Watson.
Yes, I'm delighted to make yourself
Well, from the way he talks, he must be British.
If he were any more British, he couldn't talk at all.
Just a moment. You two look awfully familiar to me.
We do?
Why, shouldn't our faces be familiar to you? Our pictures have blazoned the front pages of every newspaper in England and the continent. Dr. Watson, your beard is slipping.
Oh, dear me, dear me.
Now, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, about my daughter.
Her name is Gretchen.
How did you know?
It's obvious.
Yes, it's obvious.
What did you say? What did you say, Dr. Watson?
Mr. Burgomaster, I am the only man living who can understand Dr. Watson.
I see. Now, how much will you charge, Mr. Holmes, to recover my daughter?
I'm glad you brought that up. Our price depends on the difficulty of the job. Is your daughter young?
Yes.
Beautiful?
Quite beautiful.
Then it will be very expensive. Because, as everybody knows, beautiful young girls are very hard to find these days. How much do we charge, Dr. Watson? Dr. Watson says... Dr. Watson says, and I quote, 555 guilders.
555 guilders? That's a great deal of money.
Now, when did she disappear?
Oh, about midnight.
As long ago as that, who makes it much more difficult. How much, Dr. Watson? Dr. Watson says... Dr. Watson says, and again I quote, 5,555 guilders.
Oh, dear.
Now, where did she disappear from?
From the old Mail Reel.
Oh, from the old Red Mill. Where?
The Red Mill.
Oh! Those finding beautiful young girls who have disappeared at midnight from old Red Mill falls in our highest price bracket. Dr. Watson, what is our highest price bracket? Dr. Watson says 55,550. 5.
As much as that?
Well, remember, we got to pay our agents 10%.
Very well, it's a deal. I'll pay you the minute you deliver my daughter.
We must have the money in advance.
Why?
Well, we have enormous expenses, you know. Magnifying glasses, houndstooth jackets, bloodhounds, all that.
I see. Very well. I'll pay you the money. Good. But I demand that you bring my daughter to this very spot no later than 4 o'clock this afternoon, in time for her wedding to the governor of Zealand.
My, where does did you get all that money?
The burgomaster just paid off like a slot machine. Look, kid, Gretchen, take this money, go to the next town, and get married. I'll stay here and stall the burgomaster until you get back, okay? Hey, look, you can stop talking like that now, Dr. Watson. And look, another thing, you better give Gretchen your beard. I'd hate to have anybody recognize her on the street.
Oh, are we really going to get married?
Beginning to look like it. Oh, Gretchen, I love you. And do you know why?
Not that I am fair, not that I am true, not my golden
Not your golden
not my eyes of blue.
Not your eyes of blue.
When we ask the reason, all too few.
Okay, we know you love each other. Now, look, sweetie, we got all this money for finding you. Now, get lost.
Mr. Holmes, in 1 minute and 15 seconds will be 4 o'clock. And if you don't produce my daughter by then, I'll have you thrown in jail.
Mr. Burgomaster, I don't think you like me.
Like you? I am for you. I think you're an imposter. I don't think you're Sherlock Holmes at all.
Of course I'm Sherlock Holmes. Why, here's the telegram I received from you.
Let me see that. Why, this telegram is in my own handwriting.
What better proof do you want?
Your time is up, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. My daughter isn't here, and I want my money back, you swindler.
Just a minute. Listen.
What is that?
Sounds like a duet.
Is that my daughter?
You believe in the ghost in the old red mill?
Certainly not.
Well, then that's your daughter.
Gretchen! Gretchen, come in here. You're just in time for your wedding to the governor.
There's been a little change in plans, Mr. Burgomaster.
I can't marry the governor.
Oh, yes, you can.
But I'm already married to Mr. Connor.
I don't...
I think the burgomaster has just blown a gasket.
Gretchen, let's get away from here. Where'll we go?
To the Isle of our dreams.
I can recommend a better island.
Where?
Manhattan.
Could someone from Holland be happy there?
Well, Peter Stuyvesant likes it. In old New York, the peach crop's always fine. They're sweet and fair, and on the square, the maids of Manhattan for mine.
You'll see things you cannot see in gay Paris, in London, or in Cork. The queens you'll meet on any street in old New York.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The Red Mill was dramatized for the Railroad Hour by Lawrence and Lee. Next week, our show train will arrive on the same tracks at the same time, and on board will be Miss Jeanette MacDonald to join me in bringing you one of the greatest screen successes, Naughty Marietta. Well, it looks as though we're ready to pull out, and so until next week, goodbye.
The Red Mill has been presented by special arrangement with the Tams Whitmark Music Library. Gene Kelly is currently starred in Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's all-star Technicolor musical Words and Music, based on the lives and music of Rodgers and Hart. Gordon MacRae appeared on this program by arrangement with Warner Brothers. This is Marvin Miller speaking. The Railroad Hour is brought to you each week at this time by 130...
Ladies and gentlemen, the ringing of that phone bell means mystery, adventure.
Nero Wolf's office, Archie Goodwin speaking. You want Mr. Wolf to what?
Mr. Wolf will do nothing of the sort, Archie. Mr. Wolf is thirsty.
Hold on for a moment. The bottle opener's in the left-hand drawer of your desk.
Thank you, Archie.
Mr. Wolf, I've got a man named Denby on the phone. He wants you to umpire a card game.
The man is insane.
He's offering a fee.
The answer is no. I know nothing of card games, nor do I wish to learn.
Okay. Well, the answer's no, Mr. Denby. Sure, I'll ask him again. After he finishes the beer he's working on. Goodbye.
People appall me. The fantasies they indulge in. Bah, what on earth made that maniac think I might consent to preside at a card game?
Well, it seems he expects one of the players to be death.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the bulkiest, balkiest, smartest, and most unpredictable detective in the world. That chair-born genius, Nero Wolfe. Created by Rex Stout and brought to you in a new series of adventures over this NBC network in the person of Mr. Sidney Greenstreet.
Wolfe would not attend, but the card game went on anyway. At the home of a Mr. Stephen Denby.
Jean?
Yes?
LaCosta? Mr. Piper? I think we're ready to begin, eh?
I'm ready.
Yes, Jean. You always are.
How I like that remark, I'll have to decide later on.
Yeah, please do. LaCosta?
It's all right with me.
And Mr. Piper?
I brought a deck.
No, as host, I shall supply the cards.
Before we play, I examine them, yes?
Of course. Here you are. Chuck?
Yeah, Mr. Denby?
You will remain outside the door until called. No one is to enter this room under any circumstances.
Got it.
LaCosta?
The cards look all right.
Thank you. Now then, shall we make things absolutely clear?
You mean, should you make a speech? I don't mind.
But make it short, huh?
I shall. The four of us seated at this table are joint owners of the Candy Club, a rather successful institution devoted to the sale of food, liquor, entertainment...
And the gambling.
And games of chance. For some time now, we have all resented sharing the profits. Some of us have attempted to buy out the others.
Denby, you needn't babble on. No one wants to sell. We know that.
True, Mr. Piper. Which is the reason for this little game of cards. One hand shall be dealt to each of us, a hand at poker. Whoever wins gets the club. The others retire as gracefully as they can. Agreed?
That's why
yes,
we...
agreed.
Very well. The cards are shuffled. I'll place them in the center of the table. LaCosta, would you like to...
I cut.
Good.
If nobody minds, I'll cut them, too. After Mr. LaCosta.
Nobody minds? Happy now, Mr. Piper?
Let's get going, huh?
Very well, unless Jean would care to...
Oh, thanks. We're all crooks here, which sort of cancels out any funny business with a card.
Very well. We shall all draw a card in turn until 5 cards are drawn by each player. Shall we start, Jean?
Sure.
LaCosta?
Okay.
Mr. Piper?
Yes, of course.
And myself. We just keep going in rotation.
This is fun.
Fun? No. There's too much money which rides on these cards.
That's what makes it fun.
Would you mind keeping quiet? I'm nervous.
We all are, one way or another. I think we all have our 5 cards now.
We all got them.
Very well, then. In the same order that the cards were dealt. Jean?
A pair of 3s.
LaCosta?
Nothing.
Mr. Piper?
Kings. 2.
The light!
Piper. Well, what?
Da-da-da-da-da. Hey, I don't like to seem stuffy, mister, but will you take your elbow out of my back?
I'd be delighted to, Mr. Goodwin, but it's not my elbow.
I don't care if it's your tibia maximus. Just take it away.
Chuck wouldn't like that.
Oh, we have company. Mind if I look around?
Keep right on walking, pal.
That would be Chuck behind me, huh? And you are...
My name is Denby. You may remember it.
Oh, yeah. You phoned a couple of hours ago about a card game. Now, look, just what is your boy poking in my back?
I think it's a 38.
You're not sure?
It might be a 45.
Chuck, is it loaded?
Make a funny move, pal, and you'll find out the hard way.
Yo, wait a minute. It's just a passing curiosity. Where are we going?
My car.
Get in.
If you insist. I guess you do. Okay.
I'll drive, Chuck.
The car bulletproof?
No, that's hardly necessary. Chuck shoots first.
Well, it's a saving, I guess. The only thing is, I hadn't figured on taking a ride. I told Mr. Wolf I was going for a walk. He disapproved,
You're
but...
going for a ride.
Isn't that a little corny?
Now, there's a minor difference. Usually the guest, shall we say, is killed at the conclusion of the ride. In this case...
Let's not make the difference too minor. Huh?
You will survive the ride. It's what comes afterwards that might kill you. You see, Mr. Goodwin, my friends and I have a little mystery to solve.
You want me to solve it?
No. We want Mr. Wolf to solve it. In order to do so, he must leave his house and come to mine. He has to in order to find the solution quickly.
Why?
Neither my friends nor myself have any desire to improve our acquaintance with the police. Therefore, we want the mystery solved before the police are even called in. Hence our need for Mr. Wolf. Hence our detaining you.
Detaining is a pretty word in the circumstances.
This is my home, Mr. Goodwin.
Oh, well, I don't like the architecture. I think I'll stay out.
Get going, pal.
On second thought, Mr. Denby, what makes you think Mr. Wolf is going to leave his house and come here?
You. Unless he does so, he will lose you. Forever. The door, Chuck.
Okay.
Mr. Goodwin, may I introduce you to my associates in business and in poker? To your right, Mr. Locasto, a charming but impulsive fellow.
Hello.
He's only the stooge. Where's the fat fellow?
In time, Locasto. The lovely lady whose back is to you is Jean. Jean something or other. She's always changing her name.
Hello.
Hello.
And the gentleman facing you is Mr. Piper.
How do you do? Is he exclusive or just... Hey, he's wearing his red carnation a little low, isn't he? Over his heart. Except that's no carnation.
That, Mr. Goodwin, is blood. Lifeblood.
Archie. Oh, Pa, he's always taking walks. Come in. The door's unlocked.
Are you... Yeah, you're Wolf.
Having made a magnificent discovery, suppose you remove your hat?
No, come on.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Denby wants to see you.
Mr. Danby can see me here.
Here ain't where he wants to see you.
Here, at the risk of minor monotony, is where he'll have to see me.
Don't you want your boy Goodwin to keep on living?
No one has ever been able to discourage him.
Mr. Denby will.
Ah, Archie's in custody?
No, in Mr. Denby's house under a gun.
I don't have to believe that.
Take a look at this.
Wallet. Archie's wallet. I shall accompany you. And permit me to warn you that if Mr. Goodwin has been harmed, nothing short of murder will satisfy me.
It's getting late. Wolf isn't here yet. Maybe he doesn't worry about you, Goodwin.
Well, he could have been delayed. Maybe an orchid needed a pollen transfusion or something. Besides, only the good die young.
Then you must be very, very good, Archie.
That remark I didn't care for.
We sit here and wait for the fat one, but in the meanwhile, the police...
The police will come when we notify them.
But they will not like the delay we make to notify them. I say we waste time. I say the fat one will not risk coming.
You say entirely too much.
Is that so? Maybe I kill you myself.
Picasso, put that gun away.
Yes, darling Archie should have a chance to live. Not long if Wolf doesn't come.
Stop looking so pleased.
Are you afraid to die, Archie?
Yeah, well, I'm not looking forward to it. It's so final. Besides, I didn't eat a hearty dinner, and... Oh, the Marines have landed.
Who is it?
Chuck, with Nero Wolf.
Let him in. Shut the door, Chuck. Stay outside.
Archie?
Hello, Mr. Wolf. Oh, am I glad to see you.
I regret I cannot say the same thing. Blast you, why couldn't you stay at home instead of taking those confounded walks? I warned you it'd be dangerous.
Yeah, but Mr. Wolf, it wasn't the fresh air that got me. It was Denby.
Mr. Wolf, I knew you wouldn't come here without some sort of pressure. I thought the method I used would be most effective.
Would you really have killed Archie if I hadn't come?
I would have had no choice. I would have been stuck with a witness to an unsolved murder.
Suppose I cannot solve it.
I should be forced to apply the same logic to two witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Wolf, you really came here to save my life, huh?
Nonsense. I came here for a fee, Mr. Denby.
I have a check for $1,000 already made out.
Clear it up. You forget. I left my home. I traveled unprotected through the streets of this city, exposed to motor accidents, to fresh air, too. You offer me $1,000.
Will $2,500 do?
Barely. Archie, will you take the check? Now, I presume you want me to find who killed the gentleman at the table, the one facing me, huh?
His name is Mr. Piper.
The name is no importance. Will you all sit at the table in the same position you were at the time of the shooting?
Of course. Jean? Picasso?
Good. Now for a look at the wound. The lights, I should imagine, went out for a while when the shooting occurred.
They went out?
Yes. Of the three of you at the table, which one had the best motive for the murder?
We all have the same motive. The club.
Helpful. There was no one else in the room at the time?
No one.
The door?
Locked, with Chuck on guard outside of it.
So much for that. The windows, I notice, are closed. They were closed when the murder took place?
They were closed.
The window panes are all unbroken, which eliminates the possibility of the shot being fired from outside of them, unless one of them was raised and lowered.
That wouldn't have been possible. The windows are secured by catches.
Archie, will you check that?
Okay, Mr. Wolf.
I shall for the moment assume that the windows are neither lying nor untrustworthy. Does anyone remember anything unusual occurring at the time of the shooting?
Well, someone whispered Piper just before the shot.
Indeed. You all heard that whisper?
We heard it.
Man's voice or woman?
Well, I can't say. A whisper doesn't reveal much of anything.
The windows weren't open, Mr. Wolf.
Which leads to...
The fact that it had to be one of us in this room. But which one, Mr. Wolf?
The murder weapon. Ah, yes. Has it been moved?
Nobody touched it. It's laying on the floor where it was dropped.
Interesting. If you look closely, you would observe two oil spots staining the rug between the revolver and the lady's chair, indicating... who sat at the right of Mr. Piper?
I did. Why?
Mr. Denby.
Yes?
If I were you, I would turn Mr. Lecasto over to the police.
You are a liar.
I warned you about that gun, Lecasto.
Was it necessary to shoot Mr. Lecasto?
In the arm, yes. He was reaching for a gun. He'll live, however, till the police take him away. What do I tell them?
You could point out the angle of the wound. As you notice, Mr. Denby, the bullet entered Mr. Piper's heart from the right.
Yes, so it did. Therefore, whoever sat to his right, well, that was Lecasto.
Archie, you have the check?
I have it.
We may as well leave.
Mr. Wolf, you're sure Lecasto shot Piper?
I have indicated the evidence. The rest will be up to the jury. Come, Archie.
Uh-huh. Jean,
Yes, Archie.
now that my life expectancy has increased, what are you doing tomorrow night?
Archie?
I got a scram.
Lancaster 7583.
I'll be ringing your bell. Oh, Mr. Denby, you better do something about Lucasto's arm or he won't live to be executed. You see, the executioner likes them warm before he chills them. The old homestead looks very nice, Mr. Wolf.
Yes, Archie. You should stay in it more often.
Yeah, but you never get to meet babes like Jean that way.
You never get kidnapped either. Nor would I have had to leave my home in order to rescue you.
Yeah, well, you earned a nice fee, fast.
Me?
You seem doubtful about it.
I'm positive, Archie. I know. I have not as yet earned my fee.
Huh? You mean Denby might not turn Lucasto over to the cops?
Of course he will. The trouble is, you see, Lucasto did not murder Piper.
No? He just thought a bullet in the heart might be good for Piper's rheumatism, huh?
As it happens, Piper suffered from asthma. But that's beside the point.
Fine. Mr. Wolf, I'm going to take it for granted that you know who did kill Piper. I'm also going to take it for granted that you won't tell me until you're ready. But why turn Lucasto over to the police?
2 reasons, Archie. First, I had no proof against the real killer. Secondly, we had to supply a scapegoat in order to be permitted to leave the Danby home. You were unarmed, helpless.
Go ahead, rub it in.
Nonsense. It was an interesting problem. I enjoyed it.
It was, huh? Well, to me, it's still in the present tenses. Which reminds me, as old Dr. Tidmouse said, there's always a future tense. And in that future tense, Jean.
No, Archie.
Oh, Mr. Wolf, stop. That girl's got a love for blood that appeals to the ghoul in me. Besides, did you notice what she does to her dress?
Archie, I was merely about to say that I have no objections to your dallying with the girl.
Oh, I don't believe it. My ears need overhauling.
I objected only to the future tense. Why not call her now?
Yeah, well, I won't pretend I understand this sudden enthusiasm on your part about my love life. Probably there's some foul, scheming motive at the bottom of it. But who am I to look a gift horse in the mouth? Now, let's see. Her number was,
Lancaster 7583, of course.
This is the most beautiful bar and grill I've ever seen, Archie.
Drank, you mean?
What?
Never mind.
All right. Archie, did anybody tell you you were beautiful, too?
Well, a girl here and there has mentioned it.
Oh, were they liars?
Nah. Tell me, Jean, how did you ever get into the gambling den racket?
Because I'm a crook?
Well, I suspected that, but,
I want another drink.
You've had enough.
I want another drink, and when Jean wants another drink, no gentleman who is a gentleman...
Jean, get down.
Oh, let me go. I don't want to climb under the table.
You'll stay under here until the barrage stops.
I guess the war's over. All right, Jean, get up.
No, now I'm here. I like it. I'm going to stay here for months and months.
Jean, do you realize that somebody just tried to kill you?
And I thought you had such a nice, honest face.
No, not me. Somebody out in the street. I don't know why, but Mr. Wolf will. Come on, pull yourself together and let's go see him.
The nice fat man? All right, I like him.
You do? Why?
Because he'd make such a big corpse.
Is that you, Archie?
Plus Jean.
What made you think I wanted her here?
Oh, she's one of your fans. She thinks you'd make a lovely corpse.
What was the reason for bringing her here?
She was shot at. Did you expect her to be?
I expected her to be killed. That's why I sent you to her.
It didn't occur to you I might be killed, too?
It did. I was willing to take the chance.
You were willing? Oh, Mr. Wolf, Jean's a little under the weather.
Splendid. In vino veritas.
Watch your language.
I mean that people in their cups often tell the truth, a proverb of some antiquity. Who shot at you tonight, Jean?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see.
Has it occurred to you that you might just as easily have murdered Piper as not?
But Lucasto killed Piper. You said so yourself.
I lied. Furthermore, why the attack on you if Lucasto was the murderer?
Well, I don't know.
Did you also not know that Lucasto escaped from jail earlier this evening?
You're making that up.
Why should I? Mr. Denby turned him over to the police, but Lucasto managed to get away before being jailed.
That's not cricket.
Incidentally, Mr. Denby will be joining us at any moment. I expected you to bring Jean, Archie. Therefore, with the exception of Mr. Piper, who is resting in the morgue, and Mr. Lucasto, who is at large, we shall have all the participants in the card game. With them, perhaps we can deal a new hand, Archie?
Okay. Maybe it's the morgue to tell us Piper escaped. Oh, wrong again. Come in, Mr. Denby.
Mr. Wolf, I'm upset. I heard over the radio about Lucasto's escape. He'll try to kill us all.
Why?
Well, because we can testify that he murdered Piper.
True.
I beg your pardon?
Lucasто did not kill Piper.
But you said that he did.
The only evidence against Lucasto was the angle of the entrance of the bullet that lodged in his heart. May I remind you of the whisper you all heard in the darkness preceding Piper's death?
The whisper that said Piper?
Precisely. We must assume, then, that Piper turned his body in the direction of the whisper. Therefore, the angle of the wound would be wrong for Lucasto, but the correct one for...
Whoever sat opposite Piper.
I sat opposite him, but that doesn't mean I killed him.
Wait, you must have. Once he turned, the bullet must have come from opposite him. Only possible way. That means you, Jean.
No. No, it's a frame.
May I interrupt for a moment? Mr. Denby, if our present analysis is correct, it must have been you who whispered to Piper. Did you?
I hadn't thought about it before, but...
Denby, you're lying.
No, he's not lying. Continue, Mr. Denby.
Well, when the lights went out, I wanted to tell Piper something. He turned to me, and that's when he was shot.
Archie, you've taken all this down.
In my prettiest shorthand, Mr. Wolf.
Good.
I don't know why you're doing this, Denby. Maybe you think if I take the rap, you'll get the club. But remember, Lucasto's still free. He's gunning for all of us. But it'll be you. Especially you he'll want. Maybe you can talk a jury into sending me up for something I didn't do, but you won't live to gloat about it.
Oh, shut up, Jean. You killed Piper and...
Who's that?
This is, of course, the murderer of Mr. Piper. No comments? Archie, the door, if you please.
But you said I was the one who...
What kind of idiocy is this?
Archie, I said the door.
Okay, but shall I ask him in or sock him?
You will act as the situation demands.
Yes, sir. But for once, I'd like to know what the situation is.
Raise him, Goodwin, and keep him that way. Now back up into the living room.
I don't back up good. My gears...
You want it here?
Never mind. I'll strip a gear.
Archie, what are you doing?
Just what the situation demands, backing up. In case your knowledge of armaments has failed you, our little friend Chuck here is pointing a .38 revolver at me.
You won't save him from the chair.
Maybe not, but it could give me quite a pain in the stomach.
Chuck, what do you think you're doing?
You double-crossing louse.
Gentlemen, if you
So
please.
you thought you'd run to the fat dick and pin it all on me, huh, Denby?
You don't know what you're talking about. We haven't even mentioned you.
You sure of that, huh? Then why did Wolf phone me and tell me you were about to sing?
Wolf phoned you?
Yeah. Said you were getting ready to feed me to the electrician up the river.
Oh, he was making a stab in the dark, Chuck, trying to start something.
That's so, Wolf?
Archie, will you read Chuck your notes about Mr. Denby's statement regarding the whisper?
Well, that doesn't mean... It could be misunderstood.
Read me the notes, Goodwin.
Here it is, I quote. When the lights went out, I wanted to tell Piper something. He turned to me and...
That's all I need to hear.
Chuck.
You were selling me out after hiring me to knock off Piper.
You dumb gunman. Now you've given Wolf what he wants, a confession. I was trying to pin it on Jean.
That's what you say now. It's kind of late, though. Too late for you.
No.
Goodbye, Mr. Denby. Nice shooting, Chuck.
Stay put, Goodwin. The rest of you, I'm leaving.
Police wouldn't approve. But let me have your gun. Huh?
Wise guy. You know something? I've been thinking.
Can you think?
If I was to knock off you and Goodwin, me and Jean could split the club between us and nobody'd ever know who killed Piper.
Very whimsical, Chuck, but if you don't mind...
Archie, don't be an idiot.
Well, if I have to get shot, I prefer it to happen when I'm moving forward.
Archie.
Okay, come and get it, Goodwin. March right up nice and easy and take it.
I'm coming. Would somebody mind telling me why I don't fall down?
Fool.
I've been shot. Well, that's not the way to talk to a man who's just been... Hey, Chuck is lying down.
Is he dead?
Well, there's been a mistake. I didn't shoot him. He shot me.
Archie, stop blabbering. Neither of you shot the other. As a matter of fact...
I shot the Chuck.
Lucasto.
Lucasto, Archie?
Well, I thought he escaped.
No, I'm not crazy. I do not escape. The fat one, he phones the police to tell them how I'm innocent.
Yes, I had the police announce the escape, however, for reasons of, shall I say, strategy?
Well, on account of there are no bullet holes in me, you can say whatever you like, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Archie. That announcement helped heighten the tension our murderers were under.
And then they explode. The fat one, he says to me, Lucasto, wait in the next room. Watch careful. Maybe there's trouble. I watch. And now? Now there's no more trouble.
Well, place looks a lot tidier now with all those bodies removed, huh?
Indeed.
I'll get you the bottle of beer. But first, make with an explanation.
The case was crystal clear, Archie.
Maybe, but I'm no crystal gazer. Sure, I know. Denby had things arranged in advance with Chuck in case anybody held a better hand than his own. Piper did. So Denby whispered to Piper after kicking the light switch and set him up for a shot by Chuck from the doorway. The angle would provide evidence against Lucasto.
True. However, we had only Denby's word for it and Chuck's that the door was locked.
All right. We know, but you knew before Denby and Chuck blew up. How?
The oil spots on the rug, Archie?
Well, they only showed the gun had bounced when the murderer threw it away. Spattered oil, very well-kept gun.
They showed more than that. Where were those spots in relation to the gun? Think back, Archie.
Spots in relation... Oh, sure. They were between the gun and the door.
Therefore, the gun must have been thrown from the door. Bounced twice, staining the rug before reaching its final destination.
Oh, I get it now. That told you who'd fired the gun. But there wasn't proof enough, so you set up a nice atmosphere of suspicion and had the boys give each other away. All right, Mr. Wolf, you're a genius, and you may have your beer.
Thank you, Archie.
As for me, I'm not a genius, but I remember a phone number. So if you'll excuse me, Mr. Wolf.
You're excused, Archie.
Thanks.
But before you call that number, may I remind you that Jean is a girl of macabre tastes who appeals to the ghoul in you.
Sure you may, but why bother?
In order to be able to warn you that a ghoul and his money are soon parted. Good night, Archie.
You have been listening to The New Adventures of Nero Wolfe, starring Jay Novello, Howard McNear, Barney Phillips, and Bill Johnstone. Next week at this same time, Nero Wolfe and Archie will bring you The Case of the Calculated Risk. Don Stanley speaking. 3 chimes mean good times on NBC.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
NBC brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. A ruthless fiend roams the streets of your city masquerading as a police officer. For months, helpless citizens have been robbed, beaten senseless, and kidnapped. The criminal is a twisted genius, vicious, cunning. Your job is to get him.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime, investigated and solved by the men who unrelentingly stand watch on the security of your home, your family, and your life. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files, from beginning to end, from crime to punishment. Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, June 4th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Ed Backstrand, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on my way back from communications, and it was 11:13 p.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery detail.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi, Ben. Did you get that message to call home?
Yeah, bad news.
What's the matter?
That doggone kid of mine, chicken pox.
Oh, again?
Last year it was the mumps. Year before that, the measles. Every time I get set for a vacation, he decides to catch something.
Well, forget it, Ben. Think what a comfort he's going to be in your old age.
Go ahead, laugh. You'll find out.
Yeah.
How are you, Friday? Romero? Fine. What can we do for you?
You don't look like you remember me. Oh, no, wait a minute. Name's Savage, isn't it? George?
Johnny, Sergeant. Johnny Savage. Remember now?
Oh, sure. Those liquor store robberies out in the Wilshire district. About 6-7 years ago, wasn't it?
10 years, Romero. You ought to remember that. You were at the trial.
We testify in court every week. 10 years is a long time.
It's longer in the state pen. It's a lot longer.
Yeah, you cried a little at that trial, didn't you, Savage? You said we beat that confession out of you.
Yeah, that's why I figured I'd drop in for a little visit. Kind of apologize to you fellas. You gave me a square deal. I guess I kind of lost my head. I figured I'd apologize.
Oh, that's all right, Savage. When'd you get out?
A couple of weeks ago. I did it the hard way. Served 10 flat. I don't know my day.
You find a job yet?
Yeah, Friday. I'm working nights.
What kind of a job?
Laborer in a warehouse, south end of town.
Good. You decided to level?
10 years in prison's a long time. You learn a lot of things. Nights are long. You think a lot. You get things straightened out.
I hope you mean that.
Sure, I mean it, Friday. I've got everything straightened out. I know who my friends are, and I know who to watch out for.
You sound like maybe you're on the right track.
I got it figured, Romero. Not like you two fellas. You caught me red-handed, and you sent me up for 10 years.
Well, you did all right, Savage. 5 armed robberies. You got off pretty easy.
You got a break, Savage. Make the best of it.
Sure, I'm not kicking. 10 years, a real break.
That's right.
Well, just dropped in for a little visit. Maybe I'll see you fellas sometime.
All right, Savage? Keep your nose clean?
Sure. No hard feelings.
No?
You just took 10 years of my life, that's all.
There's no such thing as a man going through prison without changing. And Ben and I have seen him switch in both directions. Some men learn their lesson after they land behind bars, and when they're released, they turn into good citizens. Johnny Savage was sour. We made a mental note to check him out later on, and then we went down to the record bureau and pulled his coming out mug. That's about all that we had time for, because about an hour later, we started to get busy.
Hot shot, Joe. Grab it.
On the corner of Selma and Naples, the drugstore, 211 and probable attack. On the corner of Selma and Naples, 211 and...
What you got, Joe?
Selma and Naples, 211 and attack. Come on.
Here we are, Joe. Over there on the four corners.
Yeah. All right. Come on. We got the story from the victim, the store owner, Mr. Thomas. For the most part, it was the usual rundown of an early morning holdup. There was only one exception.
Oh, I've had young hoodlums try to hold me up before, but there was nothing like this one.
How you mean, Mr. Thomas?
Well, he came in here just before closing, and ordinarily I'd have kept an eye out because that's the time to look for him. But this fella came to the door and said he was a policeman, so I let him in. He looked like a cop. Barged right up to me and the wife behind the counter and pointed a gun. And she screamed, and he hit her in the face with the butt of the gun. Sergeant, it was horrible.
That's the way it started, and that's the way it kept going. Because most of the victims and most people don't realize that as a citizen, they have the right to check on police officers' identification when in doubt. After we got the story from Mr. Thomas and checked the store in the neighborhood, Ben and I headed back for the office.
Attention, all units. At the end of North Baxter Road near Hillcrest, victim of 211 and slugging. Car 7172, take the call. Code 3. Attention, all
That's 4 blocks away from the last one. Let's roll on it, huh, Ben?
Right, I'll hit the siren. You get the light.
By the time Ben and I got up to the end of North Baxter, the men from car 71 were already there. The victim was telling his story. His face looked like it had been through a meat grinder.
We're just shifting the car into second to make the hill when I hear this siren behind me, and I see this red light flashing in the side view mirror. Well, naturally, I pulled over to the curb, and I was just reaching for my driver's license when the cop runs up, yanks me out of the car, and starts clubbing me in the face with the butt of his gun.
Did you get a look at him? Think you can describe him?
No, I'm afraid not. He swung me around and kept me staring into that red light on his car all the time he was beating me. After a while, everything just went black. When I woke up, my wallet was gone, all my money's...
45 minutes later, Ben and I were interviewing the third victim, a young housewife out in the Wilshire district. Same trademark.
I tried to tell him, Sergeant. I tried to tell him I didn't have any money, but he wouldn't listen. He kept holding me by the throat and beating me with his fist like he enjoyed it. Beating me.
Yeah, all right, Mrs. Jameson. Could you tell us how he got in the house?
He came in the front door and rang the bell.
I opened the door, but I left the burglar chain on. He said he was a policeman. So when he demanded I open the door all the way, I did. Then he grabbed me.
And you can't describe the man for us, Miss Jameson?
He was tall, and he had dark hair and big hands. That's all. It was like a nightmare. A horrible nightmare.
Tall, dark hair, big hands. Your guess the same as mine, Joe?
Maybe. Let's wait and see. Come on, let's check with the boss.
Hi, Mike.
Hi. He's waiting for you. In there.
Come on, Ben.
Chief of Detective's office. Hannon.
Sit down.
Yeah, Skipper.
All right, you two, let's have it.
The guy with the red light?
Yes, the guy with the red light posing as a policeman. Why hasn't he been picked up?
You know as much about it as we do, Ed. We got our first call around midnight. He knocked over a drugstore out on Selma. He hasn't stopped working since.
Didn't you get any definite lead on him? No description, no license number?
Nothing. He's tall, big hands, dark hair, that's all.
Fine. Either of you got any ideas?
Could be anybody, Skipper, with that description.
You're sure it wasn't anybody on the force?
We sent all the victims down to personnel. Lowry showed him the mug book of all police officers. Wasn't one of our men.
Works fast. Drugstore, a motorist, a pedestrian, a housewife out in the Wilshire district. Went right in the house after her. 4 of them, right in a row.
5.
Huh?
There's a 20-year-old kid in the next room. Came in just before you got here. A couple of hours ago, he was sitting in a car with his girl up in Mulholland Drive. This red light bandit comes along, slugs him, and kidnaps the girl.
Kidnapped? She still missing?
Not a trace.
When did this happen?
A couple of hours ago. They brought the kid over from Georgia Street Hospital. We can talk to him now. He's had a bad time. Right in here.
Okay.
Pete, we're going to have to ask you a few more questions.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It feels a little better now.
This is Sergeant Friday and Sergeant Romero.
Hi, Pete.
Hi.
Can you tell us what time the trouble started?
Oh, about 10:15, 10:30. Sally and I were sitting in the car talking about where we were going on our honeymoon. We're going to be married next month. And then this car pulls up behind us and starts flashing a red spotlight on us, and a guy runs over and pulls open the door. He said he was a cop.
Did you get a good look at his car, Pete?
I think it was a black sedan.
Did you get a look at the man, Pete?
No, I didn't. It was pretty dark, and he kept me staring into that red spotlight. It all happened so fast. Then he started slugging me, and I went down.
What happened then?
Well, the next thing I knew, Sally was screaming. He had one hand on her throat, and he had her backed up against the side of the car. He was beating her with the other hand. Some kind of a short billy club. Well, I got up and I started for him, and he slugged me again. When I came to, Sally was gone.
Anybody check the area up there, Ed?
Yeah, Davis and Griffin. Didn't find a thing.
Oh, Sergeant, you gotta find it. You got to. I wouldn't know what to tell her folks. I wouldn't know what to say.
That's all right, Pete. We'll find her. You take it easy.
Got a hot shot, Ed, up on Summit Road near Westmore. A woman, unconscious. Ambulance follow-up. Possible dead body.
All right, Hannon. Look after Pete here. Friday, Romero, let's go. Up ahead, Romero, to the right.
Okay, Skipper.
Yeah, there's the ambulance and the cruiser car.
Sure a lonely-looking spot.
All right, come on.
Hiya, Doc. What'd you find?
Hiya, fellas. Right over here.
Just gonna take her in.
Where'd you find her?
Over there, by the side of the road. Somebody driving by saw her. They called us.
Any identification?
This bracelet on her wrist.
To my dearest Sally from Pete. December 25th, 1947.
That's a girl, all right. What are the chances, Doc?
I wouldn't bet on them. Pretty bad shape. Well, have you seen enough?
Yeah. Friday, Romero, call the crime lab and check the area for footprints and tire tracks. I'll ride back in the ambulance with the girl. If she regains consciousness, I want to talk to her. All right?
Okay, Ed.
I'll meet you in the office by 8:30. We're working straight through till we get this guy.
See you at the office, Skipper.
What time you got, Ben?
7 minutes to 4. Long night.
Hey, that car up there ahead. Let's take a look at it, huh?
Black sedan. Hey, look, he's flashing a red spot on that convertible.
Come on.
He sees us, Joe. He's pulling away.
Get that gas pedal down to the floor.
It's already there. He's turning off right.
Hit the siren. I'll get the light. We're gaining a little, Ben. Next corner to the left.
Joe, where'd he go?
It's a fancy driver. Try the alley up ahead to the left.
Must have turned up that cross street.
Get through the alley and double back on him.
Right.
There he is, Ben. Look out.
Watch it, Joe. Watch it. He's going to ram us.
We got hit just in front of the rear bumper. Our car was forced into the curbing and it turned over. He was real lucky. He kept right on going. But this time, Ben and I were sharing the luck. All we got out of it was a couple of nasty cracks in the head and a few bruises, but it was enough to keep us in a hospital under observation for a day. By this time, Ed Backstrand was fuming. So were the newspapers. During the day we spent in the hospital, the red light bandit went on a real blitz. He pulled 6 more jobs, 1 liquor store, 2 residential holdups, and 3 car robberies. 5 of the 6 victims were slugged and beaten. Davis and Griffin had taken over for Ben and me, and by the time we got back on the job, they'd built up a lead for us.
We've been working with Wilkerson up in auto theft, Joe. He's used 4 stolen cars already. We got the makes and numbers on each one of them.
How about the dark sedan he was driving when he rammed us?
The boys picked it up this morning out on Sepulveda. We're checking it for prints now.
Oh, that's fine, Dave. You got any description on the guy yet?
No luck there, Joe. He works too fast.
Nothing at all?
The same as you had. Tall, black hair, big hands. Loves to use them.
Friday, Romero, got a minute?
Okay, Skipper. Check you later, Hyundai.
Sure thing, boys. Sit down. How do you feel?
Pretty fair, Ed.
Little stiff here and there.
All right. Did Davis fill you in?
Up to date.
Okay. I just called the doctor who's handling Sally Wilder, Pete's girlfriend. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
She's been in pretty bad shape since we found her up there on Summit Road. This morning she took a turn for the better. She's conscious, and her doctor thinks she might be able to talk to us a little bit.
Good. When?
About an hour. I cleared it with the doctor and with her family. You'll only be able to stay a couple of minutes, so make the most of them. That's all.
All right, Ed. We'll check with you later.
Say, Joe, Ben, here's some mail came for you fellas while you were gone.
Oh, thank you, Mike. We're going over to the county hospital. We ought to be back in a couple hours.
Okay. Say, there's been a couple of phone calls, too.
Yeah, anything important?
I don't think so. The guy just called to say hello. Said his name was Johnny Savage. He just called to say hello.
I presume you men are aware of the girl's critical condition.
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Froman.
We saw her before she was taken here at the hospital.
Yes. You understand, of course, that you'll be able to see her for only a few minutes, and please try your best not to excite her, huh?
Right, Doctor.
Sally isn't able to talk. Bad mouth and face injuries, so your questions will have to be answered simply yes or no and nod of the head.
Okay, we got you. We only have a few questions, and we want to know if she can identify the man who beat her from these pictures we've got here.
All right, Sergeant. This way, please.
Thank you.
Sally, these gentlemen are from the police department. They'd like to ask you a few questions. Now, there's no need to be nervous or afraid. Just simply nod your head yes or no. Oh, that's fine. All right, Sergeant.
Sally, did you see the man who attacked you?
Yes. She says yes.
Did you get a good look at his face? You did. All right, Sally, now you can answer these 3 together, just yes or no. Was he tall? Did he have dark hair? Did he have large hands? He did. Ben.
All right, yeah, Jim.
Hand me the folder.
Yeah. Here you are.
Thanks. Now, there's just one more thing, Sally. I'm going to show you some pictures now. Take all the time you want before you make up your mind about each one. If you recognize any one of these men as the person who attacked you, just nod your head, all right? All right, that's fine. Good. Here's the first one. No? All right, here's the next one. No. How about this one? No? All right, here's another. Do you recognize him? This was the man? Are you sure, Sally? Thank you. That's all. Let's go.
Did you find what you wanted, Sergeant?
Yes, Doctor, we did. Here, it's this one.
Nice-looking chap. Who is he, Sergeant?
His name's Savage, Dr. Froman. Johnny Savage. When we got back to the office, we checked in with Ed Backstrand. In 5 minutes, an all-points bulletin and a full description of the suspect was broadcast to every radio car, every motorcycle officer, to every sheriff and law enforcement agency in Los Angeles and Southern California. By nightfall, the manhunt was on. More than a dozen extra patrol units were called in for duty that night, and when they pulled out of the police garage, the name, the picture, and the full description of Johnny Savage was in the possession of every officer. The same for the patrolmen, whether they walked a beat downtown or out in the residential areas. The picture of Johnny Savage went with them. Everything was done that could be done. On the second night of the manhunt, far out on the edge of town, Johnny Savage, the red light bandit, got his 12th victim, a 63-year-old storekeeper.
Attention, all units. 939 Markham Street, near Clark. 211 and slugging, code 3. Ambulance dispatched. All units. 939 Markham Street, near Clark.
Here it is, Skipper. Tie-in.
What'd you get?
Wilkerson lifted the prints off that black sedan that rammed Joe and me.
Yeah?
They belong to Johnny Savage.
Yeah, good.
That storekeeper last night. It is Savage, all right. Victim identified him from his mug.
All right. We got enough of this Savage guy to put him on ice for life. All we have to do now is to get him.
Now, look, the way we figure it, Ed, this red light bandit is using stolen cars with cold plates, so there's no way of tracking down the cars at regular commercial garages. He's got to be renting private garages someplace around town.
All right, let's get the neighborhood patrolman on the job. Advertise it. All over town. It's a city ordinance, isn't it? People who rent private garages are bound by law to register the car and license number with the police. Start a campaign if you want, but find those cars.
Right.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hello, Backstrand. Yeah? When? I see. Yeah, thanks.
What is it, Ed?
It was the hospital. About the girl, Sally.
Sally Wilder? What about her?
She died 5 minutes ago.
That night, everybody went back on the job as usual. The cruiser cars, the patrolmen, the motorcycle officers, and about a dozen decoy cars. Armed policewomen riding alone in cars or parked in lonely spots with a police officer escort. Our car, 80K, was still in the garage for repairs, so they assigned us another one. And we started to make the rounds. Everything was usual. Except one thing. We weren't tracking down just a thief anymore or a sadist who liked to beat people's faces in. We were out to get a murderer. It was a perfect night for the suspect. Dark, no moon. I gave Ben 2-to-1 odds, and I put up $5 that we'd get Savage that night. I lost the $5. We cruised until 7 the next morning, but there wasn't even a nibble. We had breakfast at the Federal Cafe, a little restaurant down the street from the city hall, and it was about 8:15 when we got back to the office. We were pretty tired.
Robber detail, Romero.
I would like to speak to Sergeant Friday.
Just a minute. It's for you, Joe.
Okay, thanks. Friday talking.
Sergeant Friday, I want to talk to you.
Well, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I want to talk to you in person as soon as possible.
Can't you tell me over the phone? What is it?
I cannot tell you over the phone. It is very important. Can you come now?
Well, now, look, mister, I'm awful sorry, but we're very busy down
554 Ramona Avenue. Can you come now?
Well, what's this all about? Who is this speaking?
My name is Carl Savage. My son's name is John.
Here it is, Joe. Neat-looking little place.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm Sergeant Friday. You Mr. Savage?
Yeah, come in.
Okay. This is my partner, Sergeant Romero.
How do you do? I will be brief, gentlemen. I am the father of John Savage. I wish for you to catch him. I will help you.
I noticed the name on the mailbox outside, Mr. Savage. Changed your name lately?
I changed my name 10 years ago when John first got into trouble. My own name I had to change. The shame. Always from him, my son. Shame.
Mr. Savage, has your son been home since he got out of prison?
Yeah, many times, to ask for money. I would not give him any, so he struck me. Last night I read in the newspaper the little girl he beat up. She is dead. Then I make up my mind.
Do you know where your son is now, Mr. Savage?
Not now, no. But our garage has a car in there. It is not his, I know. Also in the garage, I find many license plates. I find spotlights with red glass lens.
But you don't have any idea where we could find him.
No, but he will come back. He always comes back for money.
We're going to station an officer here in the house, Mr. Savage.
Anything you want, if it will catch him. He's bad, Sergeant. Like something poison. All true, he's bad.
See a sewing basket over there, Mr. Savage. The wife live here with you?
10 days ago, before this starts, I bury Gertrude, my wife, his mother. Sergeant, for 10 years she is sick, but for 10 years she stays alive to see him from prison. 10 days ago, she died. He did not even come to the funeral.
Did your son have any idea that you might call us?
No, I don't think so. But when you catch him, give me a gun. With my own 2 hands, I will kill him. Johnny Savage.
Before we left, we called Ed Backstrand and we brought him up to date. He sent 3 detectives out to relieve us, Davis, Griffin, and Marsh. We told them to keep an eye on the house and the stolen car in the garage. That night after dinner, Ed Backstrand, Ben, and I went out and relieved them. We parked the cruiser car in the garage next door, and then we took up our posts. Carl Savage had a light supper, and then he went to bed about 9. The 3 of us sat at the front windows in the darkened house, and we waited. Ben kept his eye on the garage. Outside, across the city, the manhunt continued as usual. 3 hours went by. The waiting got monotonous.
Brandy, Romero, look alive, will you?
Oh, yes, Skipper. I'm sorry.
That clock's enough to put anybody to sleep.
What time you got?
12:23 a.m.
Thanks.
The clock kept ticking. We were tired. We took turns keeping each other awake. At 10 minutes past 2, I looked at my watch, and then I settled back and tried to find some kind of a comfortable position. They started so faintly, it was just like the ticking of the clock. Same rhythm. And then they came closer, and the sounds got out of rhythm. Backstrand's head came up with a snap.
Brandy, Romero, you hear that?
Yeah, Ed.
Get up to the window, watch the curtains. You see anything?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody's coming.
Savage?
Can't tell. Wait a minute, he's slowing down. He's going up the driveway to the garage. He's going inside. That's him.
Come on. Watch it, he spotted us. He went over that fence into the yard.
There he is, Friday.
You hit him, Joe.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's going for the street.
He's headed for that car, Ed, that sedan up on the corner there.
Yeah, Romero, go back and get the car.
Right, Skipper.
Must have parked up the block before he came around. Where's Romero?
I don't know. Oh, here he comes now. All right, let's go.
Get that radio on, Joe.
It's already on, Ed.
All right, give him a call. Any sign yet?
No, nothing so far. Next corner to the right, Ben. Unit 80K to Control 4. 80K to Control 4.
Control 4 to Unit 80K. Go ahead.
Clear and keep frequency 4 open. This is an emergency.
80K, roger. Frequency 4, open and clear. Attention, all units on frequency 4. Stand by. 80K, go ahead.
Yeah, there he is, Friday, up ahead. Dark blue sedan.
Control 4. We are in pursuit of the possible red light bandit. Suspect is driving a dark blue 1949 sedan. License number in the 7 column. 61 Robert 784. Use caution. Suspect is armed. Code 3.
Attention, all units. Attention, all units. Unit 80K now pursuing possible red light bandit. Suspect is driving a dark blue 1949 sedan. License number in the 7 column. 61 Robert 784. Use caution. Suspect is armed. Code 3. Your location, 80K.
Control 4. We are headed east on Wilshire Boulevard, crossing La Brea.
Attention, all units. Suspect is headed east on Wilshire Boulevard, crossing La Brea.
Watch it, Romero. Don't lose him.
I see him, Skipper.
Control 4. Still pursuing red light bandit. Headed east on Wilshire, now crossing Rossmore.
Attention, all units. Suspect is still headed east on Wilshire, now crossing Rossmore. Suspect is armed. Use caution. Code 3.
That truck pulling out up ahead.
Hit the siren, will you, Skipper?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. It's a tight squeeze.
Gaining on him, Romero. A lot of traffic up ahead. He's got to slow down.
Control 4. Suspect headed east on Wilshire, crossing Western Avenue, closing in.
There he goes. Took a right down Sherman Alley. It's a dead end.
Yeah. Control 4. Suspect turns south into Sherman Alley, closing in on suspect.
Attention, all units. Suspect has turned south into Sherman Alley. Suspect is trapped. Converge on Sherman Alley.
There he is, Skipper. Pulling up ahead. He's jumping out.
All right, take the mic, will you, Ed? Here. Come on, Ben.
I'll direct the other cars in. If you need help, holler.
Right, Skipper.
All right, which way to go, Ben?
Down between those buildings.
Come on.
He's starting up the back fire escape.
All right, keep him busy. All right, Savage, come on down.
He wants to go to Roughwood.
One more chance, Savage. Come on down.
No use, Joe. He's heading up for the roof.
Come on. He climbs like a monkey. Come on, let's get him.
Yeah, all right. Come on.
All right, here, I'll give you a hand.
Here's the roof. All right, where'd he go?
I don't know. Let's spread out. All right, Savage, you're through. Throw your gun out. Come out with your hands up.
Watch it, Joe. He's running for the edge. He's going to jump.
I'll get him. All right, up. Guy back here.
You lousy copper, you dirty, lousy cop. I'll kill you, man.
You're through, Savage. You're through.
Good, Joe.
Yeah. Throw the cuffs on, will you?
Yeah, you just betcha. You want to smoke?
Yeah, I could sure use one. Thanks.
Quiet up here.
Yeah. I was just thinking.
Well?
Carl Savage, this guy's father.
Mm-hmm. What about him?
Nothing. What would you do, Ben, if your son was a murderer?
The story you have just heard is true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
John Savage was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. He was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the state penitentiary. You have just heard the sixth in a new series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet is furnished by the Los Angeles Police Department.
Tonight's program is dedicated to Patrol Officer Robert Steele of the Montana State Highway Patrol, who on the morning of November 2nd, 1947, gave his life so that yours might be more secure.
Dragnet came to you from Los Angeles. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
This is Chesterton Radio, your home for podcasts of works by G.K. Chesterton, plus drama, comedy, mystery, science fiction, big bands, and much more. The soundtrack to your Chesterton day at chestertonradio.com.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
Quaker State Motor Oil, a National Presto Industries. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
I'm Rod Sterling. You're listening to the Zero Hour. Rest your eyes. Exercise your imagination. This week, Bill S. Ballinger's best-selling novel of The Pursuit of a Damned Couple. The wife of the red-haired man. Starring Patty Duke-Aston, John Astor, and Howard Duff. In Elliot Lewis's production of The Zero Hour. This week's story draws its title from an ancient Irish poem. Here's the last verse. But the day of doom shall come, and the hills and harbors be rent. A mist shall fall on the sun, from the dark clouds heavily sent. The sea shall be dry, and the earth under mourning and ban. Then loud shall he cry for the wife of the red-haired man. It's the tale of the hunted and the hunter, the pursuer and the pursued, the stalking of life and death. Do you believe, as I do, that the hunter and his quarry build an empathy between them? A sympathy? As the chase builds toward the inevitable conclusion, is it possible that subconsciously they become aware of each other's moves, counter-moves, plans, even emotions? There are two individuals who will tell you that's so: the poet and the cop. Our story begins after this word.
At 19, Jill Kinmont was one of America's top women skiers, till an accident on an icy slope left her paralyzed. Now, 17 years later, she's a teacher, a good teacher.
I guess you can say I've overcome my handicap, but I couldn't have done it alone. I had family, friends, people who accepted me, believed in me, and helped me believe in myself. Yet there are millions of handicapped people in this country who aren't getting the acceptance they deserve because some people think that a handicapped person can't hold down a job, can't pay the rent, can't learn, can't be a human being. Well, unless you recognize that we are human beings with feelings, with skills, with a sense of responsibility, then you're adding a handicap we can't overcome.
This public service message brought to you on behalf of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare and the Advertising Council.
Picture this: a windy, rainy November night in New York City. A man about 30, his most identifiable feature a crest of flaming red hair, stands in a public telephone booth.
Hello? Hello?
Mrs. Rohan?
This is the Turner House. There's no one. Rohan? Did you say Rohan? Hello? Who is this?
The red-haired man wears no raincoat. When he pulls up his jacket collar, we see a revolver stuck into his trousers. The red-haired man walks to the end of the street, where he turns and is lost to our view. His destination is East Vander's Place, a small exclusive street near the river, where large apartments cost a lot of money. Inside one of them, a married couple, Albert and Mercedes Turner.
You're very quiet.
What? Oh, am I? I'm sorry.
Would you care to tell me who called?
There wasn't anyone.
I heard you asking questions. You told someone this was the Turner house. You said another name. What was it? I've forgotten.
It wasn't anything. It couldn't have been.
You lie badly. And you lie a great deal of the time.
Don't, Albert. Please don't bait me.
The door?
Yes.
Shall I?
No. No, I'll get it.
Hello, Mercy.
You. It is you. Oh, you. You.
I tried to warn you. I called, but then I lost my nerve. I froze. Oh, Mercy. Mercy.
Mercedes? Who's at the door? Mercedes?
Come in, Hugh.
Who is it?
It's someone who... Albert, it's someone who...
It's all right, Mercy. It's all right.
Well, if you're through kissing my wife, come in and let me get a look at you.
Come in, darling. Come in.
Well, introduce us, my dear.
I'm Hugh Rohan.
Am I supposed to know you?
Mercy, didn't you...
Hugh's my... I thought he'd been killed in Vietnam.
Rohan. Oh, of course. That's the name you said on the phone.
The last time I saw Mercy, she was my wife.
Your wife? Mercedes, is that so?
Yes. I was Hugh's wife. Long ago.
Did you just forget to tell me, my dear? Slip your mind, did it? That you were already married when you jumped into my bed?
Don't talk to her like...
I wasn't married. I'd obtained an Enoch Arden decree.
You divorced me?
Well, then, at least you're not a bigamist. Whatever else you might be.
Why, Mercy? Why did you do it?
7 years, Hugh. They said you were missing in action, presumed dead. I waited 7 years, darling.
For a con.
What?
You waited 7 years for a convict. Missing in action? Don't make me laugh.
Hugh, what does he mean?
I mean he's a con. He has the stink of prison all over him. Haircut, prison-issue shoes. Unless he's anemic, he hasn't seen the sun all those 7 missing in action years.
What's he talking about, Hugh?
Put that phone down.
Oh, my dear phony fellow, it's my duty as a public-spirited citizen to tell the police there's an escaped con in my living room.
Put it down.
If you come near me, I'll blow your head off.
Put that gun away, Albert, please. Please, put the gun away.
Operator.
Albert?
He's dead.
You shot him.
He was going to call the police and spoil it. I waited 7 years, Mercy. 7 years.
But he's dead. What will happen to us? I don't remember if I'd ever seen a dead body before. But Hugh faced the matter as though it were almost commonplace. He hung up the phone, which had fallen to the floor, and then closed Albert's eyes.
He would have separated us again. I couldn't let him do that.
Was it true? What he said about you?
No.
We can't stay here.
Then we'll leave. You take what you need, and we'll leave together.
No. Not yet.
What?
I can't leave until tomorrow. We'll need money.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'll stay with you until morning.
No, you have to leave now while it's dark. Otherwise, someone might see you.
But what about him?
We'll put him in his room. The maid comes at 10 o'clock. We don't want her to find him right away.
All right. Where do you want him?
His bedroom. I'd better answer it. It might be the operator. Maybe she traced his call.
Where's his bedroom?
Through that door, the room on the right.
Oh, if that's the operator, tell her everything's fine. We were playing a game and the phone fell off the table.
Hello?
Al?
What?
Al there?
Albert? Did you want to talk to Albert?
Let me talk to Al. Who is it? Is that the operator?
Someone wants to speak to Albert.
Not Albert, Al. What's the matter? Are you drunk? I want to talk to Alan. Alan Fox. My goodness, can't you understand a simple request?
Alan Fox.
That's it.
You have a wrong number. There's no one here by that name.
Oh, I'm most extremely sorry.
I thought it was someone... I don't know, someone who heard us or saw us through a window. I was frightened.
It's all right. Everything's all right now. We're together.
Yes.
And we'll always be together because that's how it was meant to be.
Go now. while it's dark. I'll get the money in the morning.
Then come to the rooming house where I'm staying. Here's the address. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget.
All right. In the morning. Good night.
Good night.
Some gifts don't do anything, but Presto gifts do almost everything.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her the famous Presto pressure cooker. It'll cook a surprising number of things for her, surprisingly fast. 3 times faster than pots and pans.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her Presto's jumbo fry pan, big enough for a complete dinner for 8. And the handles are removable, so it's easy to clean and store.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her an easier way to broil. The brand new Presto vertical broiler broils both sides at once, then comes apart for easy cleaning. This year, give the gifts that do almost everything. Give Presto gifts.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
Where does today's girl learn to be tomorrow's woman? At the movies? On television?
Helen, darling, your floors are so shiny.
Yes, John. I used Brand X polish just this morning.
Brand X. Helen, will you marry me?
Somewhere between the super sex symbol of today's commercialism and TV's Brand X image, impending womanhood is alive and well. And where is that somewhere? Wherever there are campfire girls. Campfire reaches the girl reaching out for tomorrow and puts a promise before her. The promise of personal development, of friends and fun. The promise of womanhood. Campfire takes today's girl to tomorrow.
My name is Williams, detective 19th Precinct. Not every detective working on a murder in New York City belongs to the homicide squad. The detective from the precinct where the killing occurs is also assigned to it. East Vanda's place is in the 19th, and therefore the report of Albert Turner's death came over our desk, and I went out on it. The medical examiner and the technical services crew were already there when I arrived.
Williams, over here. Hey, you precinct guys sleep in or what? It's almost noon.
Only got it half hour ago. Went homicide here.
Half hour ago. I just got here.
Oh, this is quite some beautiful layout.
Yeah, it's class. Real dough.
Who reported it?
The maid, Thelma Jordan. She found the body. Miss Jordan? Turner's her boss. She'll tell you about it.
Yes, Mr. Scores.
This is Detective Williams here, Miss Jordan, 19th Precinct. He'll be working with me on this.
Hello. Tell me where you found Mr. Turner.
Well, the poor man was in his bedroom. I thought he was asleep, lying in bed, covers all drawn up.
He live here alone?
Oh, no, sir. They're married.
There's a Mrs. Turner?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Well, where is she?
Well, I'm sure I don't know. She wasn't here this morning when I came in.
She at work?
Oh, no, sir. She don't work.
Well, isn't Mr. Turner usually up and around?
Oh, yes, sir, but this morning Miss Turner left me a note. Here.
Let me see that. Thelma, Mr. Turner wasn't well last night. Don't awaken him. He needs the rest. Mercedes Turner. Dr. Branch from the medical examiner's office. He's with the body.
What do you suppose happened to Mrs. Turner?
I can't even guess.
Morning, Will. Doc. What happened?
One shot straight in the ticker. Fully clothed. Suit, shoes, lying under covers.
Tell me, Doctor, did you close the eyes?
No, but somebody did. Who? His wife?
Remind me to ask her when we find her. Also, how come she didn't notice a dead husband in the bedroom?
This is a man's room. Apparently they have separate bedrooms.
How long has he been dead?
It's a guess. I'd say since around midnight.
Another guess for you, Doc. Possible suicide?
Negative. No powder stains in the front of his shirt. There's at least none I can find without a microscope. Besides,
There's no gun.
That's right. there is one. We haven't found it yet.
Another thing, you'll notice that not much bleeding. Probably shot someplace else, then placed in the bed.
Any idea where?
Possibly. The technical boys found something in the living room.
Oh? What?
Possible blood stain on the rug. They clipped the sample and they're going to check it.
Near the bar by the phone.
Yeah. Shot as he was calling someone?
Maybe.
You know, when I got here, this chair had been pulled up to cover that stain. The boys nearly missed it.
Yeah. Oh, Miss Jordan?
Yes?
Listen, does Miss Turner have a book where she keeps phone numbers, stores, shops, beauty parlor, places where she might be this morning?
Yeah, I'll get it.
And would you check her things for us, see if anything's missing?
Yeah, right away.
Where do you suppose she is, Will?
I don't know. Can't even guess.
Think maybe something's happened to her?
It's possible, Scores. It's very possible.
Judy, do you remember what I told you about all that high-speed turnpike driving you're doing now and all that power equipment on your new car?
Yes, Caleb?
About how they can make your engine so hot that the oil thins down so it may not protect your engine?
Yes, Caleb.
Now, how do you tell if your oil's too hot?
Just watch the temperature gauge.
Nope. That just shows how hot the radiator fluid is.
Oh, I know. When the oil's too hot, that little red light goes on.
Nope. That just tells you the oil pressure's too low.
Well, how do I tell if my oil's too hot?
Fact is, you can't.
Then how do I know my engine's protected?
Make sure you're using quality oil like Quaker State. Quaker State's specially made to stand up to high engine heat so it can keep right on protecting like an oil's supposed to.
Is that the reason you always recommend Quaker State?
That's one reason.
Quaker State your car to keep it running young.
The Zero Hour continues after this.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the ocean water. This land was made for you and me.
America, the greatest nation on earth. But as our country continues to grow, it must face the problems of expansion, such as the now ominous shortages of fuel and energy. There are ways you can help conserve these vital resources. Reduce thermostat settings by 2 or 3 degrees. Shut off lights and heat in rooms not in use. And reduce the consumption of electricity in late afternoon or evening. Remember, in conserving fuel and energy, you help yourself and your community.
This land was made for you and me.
Public service message is presented by the President's Office of Emergency Preparedness and the Office of Consumer Affairs.
It happened so suddenly. All of it. Hugh returned from the dead, holding me in his arms. Suddenly we were young again and innocent. Then Albert began saying those terrible, threatening things. Of course Hugh had shot him. If I'd had a gun, I would have, too. Hugh killed him for me, really. Now we had to get away. I couldn't sleep that night, alone in the apartment with Albert's body. In the morning, I gathered some clothes, including my fur coat, left a note for Thelma Jordan, the maid, and hurried to the bank.
Mrs. Turner, good morning. How nice to see you.
Good morning, Mr. Forrest.
How may we serve you? Is Mr. Turner feeling well?
Oh, yes, thank you. Would you cash this check for me?
Yes, certainly. $4,500. Are you closing your account?
Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. No. If you promise you won't tell Albert.
Not a word.
Well, I'm being terribly extravagant. I simply can't resist a lovely new car, and I promise to pay the difference in cash.
And surprise Albert.
Exactly.
Of course.
Oh, and while you're getting the cash, I promised Albert I'd bring him some papers he left in our safe deposit box.
The money will be here when you get back.
Thanks so much. Hugh?
Mercy? Oh, Mercy.
Oh, Hugh. My love.
Come in. Leave the bag where it is. Here, let me have your coat. Where have you been? I thought it's too good to be true. She's gone to the police. She's told them what happened.
No, darling. I withdrew money from the bank and took my jewelry from the safe deposit
Doesn't
box.
matter. You're here. That's all that's important. 7 years, Mercy. I waited 7 years to be with you. 7 empty years. I just don't seem to be able to function without you.
Hugh, what did Albert mean when he called you a convict?
Oh, nothing. Forget it. Come on, come here. Come here with me. Here, sit down.
Was it terrible? All those years?
I told you, I'm not complete without you. Oh, Mercy.
We can't stay here, darling. The police will be looking for us.
I know.
Hugh?
Yeah.
I felt the same way. Incomplete. All the while you were gone. You're all I've ever really had, my darling. You're everything that makes me warm and soft. Oh, Hugh.
There's certain procedures you set in motion after a homicide. You look at the deceased's enemies. You question everyone who might know something about what happened at the time of the crime. You make sure the lab is checking fingerprints and possible blood stains, lost bits of hair, anything and everything. In my job, you're trying to solve a puzzle. When you first begin, there's nothing there. Yes, sir, I certainly will.
Hey, who was that?
The commissioner. Want to know what we have. They're asking questions upstate, you know.
Well, tell me, Will, what has the 19th been able to come up with, and how long? 6 hours since we got the call?
Well, we have a dead man and a missing wife. I called the phone numbers the maid found for me, beauty parlor and such. No one's seen her for the last day or so.
The lab's pretty sure Turner was shot in the living room. They think that bloodstain near the phone will match his type.
That's great. Turner shot in the living room near the phone. With a bullet in his heart, he walks into the bedroom and gets settled down under the covers, which is where he expires. Which leaves us at square one. Someone shot Turner in the living room, carried him to the bedroom, shut his eyes, then left the premises for who knows where.
That's someone being Mrs. Turner, huh?
That's all we have at the moment.
Well, maybe we got a little more, Will.
What do you mean?
According to the maid, Mrs. Turner's overnight bag is missing, along with a few dresses, shoes, and things, and a fur coat, some bracelets, earrings, etc.
All right. We'll find the lady. Mrs. Mercedes Turner. Last seen when? Last night?
Yeah, as far as we know.
Carrying an overnight bag, wearing a fur coat. Let's see, height. You got a picture of her?
From the apartment, you mean?
Yeah, from the apartment. Every dummy in the world has snapshots. Weddings, picnics, holidays, trips, whatever.
Not this lady.
What?
We tore that place apart, Will. There is no picture of her. We're putting out on all points for Mercedes Turner, and we don't have the faintest idea what she looks like.
You are listening to Mutual's presentation of The Zero Hour.
Even if someone served them a slice of beef, they couldn't bite into it. Their teeth are too weak. I'm not talking about some people off in Africa or Asia. I'm talking about Americans. American children. It's tragic how many thousands of them are in this country whose teeth will literally rot in their mouths because they'll never receive basic dental care. They may not even own a toothbrush. What hurts is that it takes so very little for any one of us to help them. The same dollar, for instance, that buys you 2 packs of cigarettes can buy 3 American children the first toothbrushes they've ever owned. I'm Cliff Robertson. Won't you give up some cigarettes so some American children can have their first toothbrush? Send your dollar to Americans for Children's Relief, Box 5050, Stamford, Connecticut. Box 5050, Stamford, Connecticut. $1. And, of course, if you can afford more, give more.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Ocean water. This land was made for you and me.
America, the greatest nation on earth. But as our country continues to grow, it must face the problems of expansion, such as the now ominous shortages of fuel and energy. There are ways you can help conserve these vital resources. Reduce thermostat settings by 2 or 3 degrees. Shut off lights and heat in rooms not in use. And reduce the consumption of electricity in late afternoon or evening. Remember, in conserving fuel and energy, you help yourself and your community.
This land was made for you and me.
Public service message is presented by the President's Office of Emergency Preparedness and the Office of Consumer Affairs.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. I'm Rod Serling. I'm Rod Serling. You're listening to the Zero Hour. Rest your eyes. Exercise your imagination. This week, Bill S. Ballinger's best-selling novel, The Pursuit of a Damned Couple. The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. Starring Patty Duke-Aston, John Astor, and Howard Duff. In Elliot Lewis's production of The Zero Hour.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
the makers of Quaker State Motor Oil and National Presto Industries. This is The Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
Photograph of Mercedes Turner, scores of homicide interviewed people who knew the woman, and from their descriptions produced a police artist drawing of her. By nightfall, this picture would be circulated to airlines, bus depots, train stations, shipping agents, everywhere where Mercedes Turner might be seen. Meanwhile, I began to check into the missing woman's background, searching for some clue to her whereabouts. Mercedes Turner's maiden name was Clinton. Her home had been in Mountain Forge, Connecticut. I drove up there. The police station was across the street from the railroad depot. I parked and went inside. As not a state officer, I needed cooperation from the local police. Excuse me, I'm looking for Chief Novak.
Speaking to him. You the officer called me from New York?
Williams, that's right.
Long did it take you?
Less than 3 hours.
Too close. We folks here feel about city cops.
Well, I didn't realize I was in a popularity contest.
Mercedes Turner, you said on the phone.
Yes. You know her?
Yeah. And she was a little girl. Name was Clinton before she was married.
What was she like?
Nice kid. Real pretty, lively, blonde hair, big blue eyes.
Did you ever get in any trouble around here?
Nope. Caution her once in a while against speeding a mite too fast. Lyman Clinton, her dad. Give her a little yellow car when she first went away to school. Drove it all over. Real fast sometimes. You know kids.
Clintons are pretty well off.
Don't worry where the next meal's coming from.
Whole family in these parts?
Tolerable. 4 or 5 generations.
Was Mercedes an only child?
Yeah. Light of Lyman's eye. Mighty proud of her. Maybe a mite too proud.
How's that?
I sort of always figured he knew what was best. Nothing good enough for her, in Lyman's view, regardless what she wanted. You believe she shot her own husband?
I don't know. What's your opinion?
If she wanted to bad enough, she might have. Except one thing don't line up. What I know about Mercedes.
What's that?
Well, she was brung up proper. Knows right and wrong. And maybe she got mad in blazes. Even had good enough reason to shoot her husband. But if she did it, she'd take a medicine. She'd walk in and hand you the gun. Well, you'll see. You'll see what I mean when you meet her daddy.
We left Hugh's terrible little room hand in hand, like young lovers off on an adventure. I knew we had to get out of the city, and so did Hugh. We took a bus across the river to Jersey City and got off on a bleak street lined with used car lots, garages, auto parts stores, crawling and sprawling beside one another. We bought an afternoon newspaper, ducked into a shabby little diner, and ordered coffee. Here it is, see?
They found him.
Yes. But they don't know about you. They're looking for a woman alone. They're looking for me.
Mercy, after I left last night...
I took every picture of myself I could find and Albert's gun and threw them away.
Ah, that's good. Now, gotta get away from here.
Where should we go?
Anywhere. Doesn't matter. Just leave before they find out about me.
Yes. I thought we'd buy a car.
That's good. That's good. The police will expect you to take a plane or a bus or whatever.
All right. Wait for me. I'll get a car.
Be careful. Be very careful.
I'm going to get Chief Novak and I had lunch, and then I called New York and talked to Scores. He got me all points bulletin out on Mercedes Turner with her description, and was in the tedious business of checking out everywhere she might have gone. Friends, neighbors, stores, everything. So far, he'd come up empty. The woman had simply disappeared. I was approaching the puzzle from the other direction, trying to find a connecting thread from her earlier days. Chief Novak drove me out to her father's house. A big old farmhouse set back from the road by a twisting gravel drive. Huge trees towered over the house like great leafy umbrellas.
Come in.
Lyman Clinton, the woman's father, was tall and thin, a bit stooped. He had a long, thin face with creases running from cheek to nose, snow-white hair. He led Novak and me into a study off the big living room. He motioned us to a couple of worn, shiny leather chairs and seated himself behind an old-fashioned roll-top desk. It was a genteel, patrician background for a woman I was beginning to suspect of murder.
Chief Novak says you want to talk about my daughter.
That's right, Mr. Clinton.
Now, before we get started, if I did know anything, I doubt I'd tell you. Furthermore, I'll never believe she shot Albert Turner.
Did you have any reason to shoot him?
None I know about.
Anyone else want to shoot him?
No.
You hesitate.
Just thinking.
Would Mrs. Clinton have any information?
Quite sure she wouldn't.
Miss Clinton's gone now. Buried better than 5 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize. When was the last time you saw your daughter?
A couple of weeks ago. Dinner one night in the city.
You see her often?
My daughter and I are very close. Sometimes she comes up here, or else I go to New York.
When did she marry Albert Turner?
A little over a year ago.
Do you have a picture of her?
No.
Not even a wedding picture?
You heard me. I don't like pictures.
Well, there's one over there. Mrs. Clinton?
Yes. That's the exception.
And if you had a picture of Mercedes, you wouldn't give it to me anyway, would you?
Williams, Think maybe we better move along.
All right. Thanks for your time, Mr. Clinton.
It was while I was buying the car that the questions began gnawing at me. Questions about Hugh. When the war in Vietnam began, he had been one of the first to be drafted. He shipped out very soon after his induction, and then nothing. No word, no trace, nothing. The Red Cross helped me, but all we could learn was that he was missing. Missing in action, they said. And then, as years went by, presumed dead. But I waited. And I felt myself drying up, aging without him.
Is this the car? It's not bad.
This is it.
What name do you use?
Mrs. Walter Brewer, Trenton, New Jersey.
Slide over. I'll drive.
Do you have a license? You've been away a long time.
Yours isn't good now either. Has your right name on it. What's the difference? If we're stopped, that's it for both of us.
Yes.
Nice to be driving a car again. I didn't think it would happen.
Where are we going?
Away. Far, far away. You and me, Mercy. Just the way it used to be.
Yes. Just the way it used
to be. After we left Mercedes Turner's father, Chief Novak had someone else he thought I should see. A woman, Clara Goldwater, who'd been close to Mercedes in high school. Clara was married now, wife of a foundry worker in Mountain Forge.
I'll wait here.
Their home was a squatting, shapeless bungalow in a shabby, genteel sort of neighborhood. You've seen a million places like it. Mrs. Battles?
Yes?
You used to be Clara Goldwater, a friend of Mercedes Clinton?
Oh, yes?
My name is Williams, New York Police. Chief Novak is out in my car. May I come in?
Oh, yes, come in. Hush, Thelma. Oh, this time of day she's cranky. Sit down, please.
Thank you.
What do you want?
A little information about Mercedes Clinton Turner.
Whatever for?
She's disappeared.
Just gone?
Something like that.
Oh, my goodness.
I know you're busy. This won't take long. When did you last see Mercedes?
Oh, not in ages. Years. In high school. Then we sort of drifted apart.
But you remember her well.
Oh, yes. Such a beauty. Never say that about me. I was the plain one. But we were real close friends, at least for a while. And then she went her way, and I went mine. Settled down here. You ever meet her husband?
Albert Turner?
What kind of man is he?
Quiet, when I saw him.
Quiet kind of. Kind that broods over things?
Did he have something to brood over?
Might have. Do you think Mercy's in trouble? Real trouble?
Yes. She's in a great deal of trouble.
Enough to make me break my word?
Mrs. Battles, if you know anything at all, you should tell me.
Oh, Mercy made me swear. Really swear on the Bible I'd never tell a soul. Even after Daddy found out about it and broke it up.
Yes?
Well, Mercy was married before.
Did Albert Turner know that?
Well, after it was over, after Daddy broke it up, Mercy wouldn't talk about it, not a word. So I don't suppose Albert Turner did know about it.
How long ago did this happen?
Oh, long, long ago. Years ago, it seems. Back when the Vietnam War began, back then. They ran away to get married. I was supposed to be a witness, but I couldn't go at the last minute, and they went ahead, did it anyhow.
Who was the man? Who'd she marry?
A boy she met in Prester.
Well, she was going to school there?
Must have been so long ago. I remember he was poor. And they were both awful young and so much in love. They were going to keep it a secret.
What was the boy's name?
His last name was Rohan. Can't recall his first name. What a pretty picture they made.
In what way?
Well, she was so blonde, and he had red hair, flaming red hair, like he was on fire.
This is Marvin Miller inviting you to be part of a historic event. On September 22nd, the Paramount plays again. The Paramount Theater of the Arts in Oakland has its benefit premiere, bringing together on one stage one name act after the other, featuring music, dance, and comedy. Tickets for this benefit premiere on September 22nd will range from $25 to $250. For reservations, phone 452-4167. That's the ticket.
Hugh drove carefully, partly because he wasn't used to being behind the wheel, and partly so he wouldn't do anything to make a policeman stop us. We drove south without even discussing why. I found myself staring at him. At the flaming red hair, the boyish face, tired now, worn. He must have felt me staring at him because he shifted in the seat to look at me. That's when I saw that he was still carrying the gun in his jacket pocket. Hugh?
Yeah?
Should you keep the gun? Shouldn't you get rid of it?
No, I have to keep it. You'll see.
See what?
Well, if anything happens, if anyone tries to stop us, break us up, now that we've found each other again, I may need to use it. Because there's nothing in this world can take you away from me again. Hey, remember Rehoboth Beach?
Yes, of course I remember.
That's where we're going. A second honeymoon, Mercy.
Huh? It's winter. Will anything be open?
We don't need more than a room.
And the police won't look for us there.
All the police are watching for right now is a single woman. They don't know about the car, or the Jersey plates in the car, or about me. We're going to have our second honeymoon, Mercy.
According to Clara Battles, Mercedes Turner had met her first husband while she was a student at the Bentley Collegiate Institute in Preston. I drove up there and then called New York to tell Scores what I'd gotten.
So she may not be alone, huh? She could be traveling with this red-haired guy, Rohan.
I suspect that's true. Otherwise, why did she run?
Well, panic.
After spending the night with her dead husband? This isn't a lady who panics.
Okay, Will. I'll add him to the APB.
Right. I'll be back late tonight or first thing in the morning.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Oh, Will.
Yeah?
Hold up a minute. Something just came in. Hey, what do you know? The lady went to her bank this morning, closed her account, and took a bunch of stuff from her safe deposit box.
Well, it just goes to prove you can't live on love alone. See you. I pride myself on my ability as a police officer. I like my job, and I think I do it well. I've learned in the years I've been at it that a good cop gets a fix on a suspect, begins to empathize with the suspect, and pretty soon it's as though the person you're looking for was carrying a homing device. You begin to zero in on him. I began to get a feeling about the red-haired man. The Preston Town Constable steered me to a place called the Snack Bar, where the Bentley girls hang out after classes. It's run by a nice old man, Clement Beatty.
How long we been here? Oh, my, we've had the place for years.
You recall a young fellow hung around here back before the war? His name was Rohan?
A red-haired boy?
That's him.
Oh, yes. He was with us for about a school year. Worked here in the shop for me and the missus. Why'd you want to know?
I'm trying to locate him. Where's his family live?
Well, seems to me out west someplace, or Middle West, maybe.
How do you happen to work for you?
Well, he was planning to go to Atchison College up in Royal. Came down here to see about a job. Mother and me leave a standing invitation, registrar's office up there for a deserving boy to help us out.
Why was he so far from home?
He wanted to be a doctor, and Annixter's one of the best pre-med schools in the country,
Yeah. Do you recall a girl at Bentley about that time, Mercedes Clinton? Pretty, with blonde hair. She was very close to you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Was that her name, Mercedes? Oh, sure. Yeah, after Hugh closed the shop, the two of them used to sit back there and talk till all hours. You know, young kids in love. Yeah, I recall one night I was cleaning up in the kitchen, couldn't help overhearing them. They were making plans, for the future, how he was going to be a doctor. They were going to have a family. How did it all come out?
Not very well, I'm afraid.
We rented a tiny cabin at Remodeled Beach, close by the water. And that night we slept in each other's arms for the first time since you'd gone off to war. I was awakened later. I don't know what time it was. By the sound of a sudden storm. And lying there, I was aware that Hugh was also awake.
Mercy?
Yes, dear.
Why'd you marry Turner? Did you love him?
No. Not ever. I married him because... I don't know.
You didn't love him?
Never. In fact, for the last few months, I've hated him. And wondered how to get away.
But you married him.
Yes, dear, I married him. Because there no longer was you, and all I wanted from life was to be protected. I didn't want love or pain anymore.
Mercy?
Yes, dear.
He was right, Your husband was right.
About what?
I was a convict. I am a convict. I escaped from prison last week.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. I'm Rod Serling.
Today's episode brought to you in part by Quaker State and Presto. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio. You have been listening to The Zero Hour, a presentation of the Mutual Broadcasting System in association with Hollywood Radio Theater, heard every weekday at this time. Rod Serling is your host. Zero Hour is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. The Hollywood Radio Theater theme was played by Ferranti and Teicher and is now available on United Artists Records and Tapes. Hugh Douglas speaking. Tune in tomorrow, and once again,
rest your eyes and listen here
to The Zero Hour. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
I'm Rod Serling. You're listening to The Zero Hour. Rest your eyes. Exercise your imagination. This week, Bill S. Ballinger's best-selling novel of The Pursuit of a Damned Couple. The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. Starring Patty Dugaston, John Astor, and Howard Duff. In Elliott Lewis's production of The Zero Hour.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
the makers of Quaker State Motor Oil and National Presto Industries. This is The Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
Hugh Rohan, supposedly killed in Vietnam, returns after an absence of 7 years to find his wife remarried to Albert Turner. In a confrontation, Rohan, the red-haired man, panics and kills Turner. Mercedes Turner, still in love with Rohan, flees with him. She hurriedly gathers money and her jewels, buys a car, and the two escape New York and drive to Delaware. 2 detectives, Williams from the 19th Precinct and Scores from Homicide, are assigned to the case. Williams finds that Mercedes Turner was secretly married to Hugh Rohan before her second unhappy marriage to Albert Turner. However, he doesn't know it was Rohan who shot Turner, nor is he yet aware that the fugitive Rohan even exists. But first, this word.
Jean, open up! It's me, Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of all France, much of the civilized world, and Louisiana if the deal falls through.
Quick, Pierre, hide in the closet. Napoleon must not find you here. Coming now, Pete.
Ah, Josephine, I had to see you.
Napoleon, my dearest heart, what are you doing here? I thought you were at Waterloo.
I was, but it ended early. What is that? I smell cigarette smoke. You know I hate you to smoke.
I didn't. I don't. I started again.
Aha! The smoke coming from that closet. Come out of there, you scoundrel, and on guard.
It was only in there to pick up the dry cleaning.
Take that, you filthy escargot.
This world history lesson was brought to you by your American Cancer Society, which says smoking can be injurious to your health.
Touché!
In more ways than one.
I drove back to New York late at night after my Connecticut scouting expedition. I found that Mercedes Turner and a young red-haired man named Hugh Rohan had been in love and had gotten married. This confirmed my growing feeling that someone had been with Mercedes Turner when her husband had been murdered. Someone who was with her now as she ran from us. In the morning, Scores was waiting for me with additional medical examiner reports.
Albert Turner was shot with a .32. 1 shot through the heart.
Anything on that carpet stain?
The one in the living room? It's Turner's blood, all right. So that's where he was shot.
Fingerprints?
Well, someone cleaned up pretty well, the lab boys feel.
You don't say.
Yeah, they lifted prints on Turner, the maid, Mrs. Turner, some unidentifieds. But the doorknob, bar surface, phone, all clean of any prints.
Oh. That it?
No, one thing more. They picked up a strand of red hair. Texture indicates it's a man's. Now, Thelma Jordan can't recall any visitor to the apartment who had red hair.
Hello?
Miss Battles?
Yes?
This is Detective Williams from the New York City Police. I spoke to you yesterday.
Mr. Williams, the paper says murder. You didn't say anything about murder.
Mrs. Battles, tell me, after Mercedes' father annulled her marriage to Hugh Rohan, what happened to Rohan?
The war happened. He went to Vietnam.
And what then?
I don't know. I guess he got killed over there.
Why do you say that?
Because Mercy loved you, no matter how her father felt. If she remarried, it was because Hugh Rohan was killed in the war.
All right, Miss Battles. Thank you for your help.
We found a strand of red hair belongs to a ghost.
Yeah, right. On the phone yesterday, you said she went to the bank first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Withdrew $4,500 cash. Collected maybe 50 grand in jewels from her safe deposit box. We got a description from the insurance company.
And her mink coat, another 8 or 9 grand?
Yeah, probably.
All right, send a description of the jewelry to all jewelry stores and pawnbrokers within 2 days' drive of here. And check out the sale of every new or used car within a couple of hours' drive from here.
You think she bought a car?
Yes, and I think she's going to start selling her jewels, and I think she's got a red-haired male companion.
That ghost, huh?
Right. I think she's traveling with a ghost.
We woke to clear, sunny skies, and Hugh seemed more cheerful than the night before. I wanted him to tell me more about what he'd said. That he was a convict. An escaped convict. Whenever I tried to ask him, he'd sense what I was about to say and avoid me. After breakfast, we drove to Fredericksburg, where we were married. Then we found another small vacation cottage nearly deserted by the season. You'll tell me what happened when you want to. Or not at all. I love you. I have since the day we met. I always will, no matter what.
Oh, Mercy. Mercy. Look, someday I'll tell you. Someday. But not just now. Not yet.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cry on our wedding day.
Well, you did last time.
Yeah, I did. Because I was so happy.
Come on, let's go inside.
Not yet. I want to drive to the drugstore. What you told me last night. What the police might have found. We have to do something about your red hair.
Yes. Then even if they're looking for two people, it won't be us.
I'll be right back. You wait inside.
Morning, Mr. Thompson. Sure is cold this morning.
Cold? It must be 94 in the shade.
I mean, it's cold inside your car's engine.
Well, why didn't you say so?
You didn't ask.
Well, just tell me how my engine can be cold on a sweltering day.
Glad you asked. When you start a car first thing in the morning, your engine is cold.
Well, that's true, but so what?
A cold engine does a bad job of burning gas. It can make soot, dirt, and acids form in your motor oil, and they can sure damage an engine.
What can I do about it?
Glad you asked. Instead of asking for my cheapest oil, you can start using a quality motor oil, Quaker State. Nothing finer than Quaker State. It's made scientific to neutralize acids and to hold solids suspended, so they don't gouge out your engine.
Well, thanks for telling me, Caleb.
Down a quart, Mr. Thompson. Quaker State?
Well, yes. Why didn't you give me Quaker State before?
You didn't ask.
Quaker State your car to keep it running young.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
Life is a thread, one delicate dream. Don't stretch it, don't break it. For life can be long and life can be strong, and that's the way to make it.
Problem drinkers who drive cars were responsible for the deaths of 18,000 people last year. Men, women, children, babies, and very often themselves. More than 40 people every day.
Life is a thread, one delicate dream. Don't stretch it, don't break it. For life can be long and life can be strong, and that's the way to make it.
Get the problem drinker off the road for his sake and yours. Write to Drunk Driver, Box 1969, Washington, D.C. We'll tell you how you can help. A public service message on behalf of the U.S. Department of Transportation.
I'm not a man who believes in ghosts. I recognize that things happen which can't be explained, and I accept the fact that not everything is written out in capital letters so even a small child will understand. But when the lab finds a single red hair from a male human, then a male human with red hair was in the room where that hair was found. Yet all our information led us to the conclusion that the man in question was dead. But there was still an unexamined part of Mercedes Turner's life. Neighbors named Layton, who lived in the apartment above.
Well, you can imagine our surprise. We'd been up in New Hampshire skiing, and we hadn't heard any news. And then on the way home today, we heard about it on the radio.
How well did you know the Turners?
Oh, casually. You know, you see them in the elevator and say hello, or they get out of a cab you get into.
Mr. Turner was shot Thursday night. I believe you were here in town then.
Yeah, we didn't leave until Friday afternoon.
Well, sometime around midnight. We're not sure the exact time. Did you hear a revolver shot?
My husband's a perfectionist about his hi-fi. We wouldn't have heard anything because this apartment's soundproofed.
Uh-huh. What did you think of the Turners as people, as a couple?
Mrs. Turner is a beautiful woman. I don't know about him.
Oh?
Polite enough in the hall and lobby, but I never really liked him. Had a feeling he could be pretty unpleasant if he wanted.
On the day of the shooting, or that night, did you see any strangers around the building?
Oh, in New York, everyone's a stranger. How do you remember them?
Only if they're acting suspiciously or if someone's different. For instance, last Thursday in this neighborhood, did you see a man with red hair? Real red hair.
Well, yes, I saw him.
What was he doing?
Walking down East Vanders in the rain. That's all, just walking and looking around as if he were searching for an address.
Dyeing Hugh's hair brown changed his appearance remarkably. But very subtly, his attitude had also begun to change. Perhaps it was because my memories were of a younger, more innocent time, when the future was spread safely before us, ours for the taking. But by the time we left Fredericksburg, he'd become shifty, suspicious. I was driving.
Where are we headed?
Richmond, Virginia.
Why didn't we stay where we were? What was wrong with Fredericksburg?
We can't stay in one place too long, and we're too close to New York, and we need money.
What's needing money got to do with driving to Richmond?
I have to begin selling my jewelry, Hugh. I don't want to do it in the same town where we were married.
You're smart.
I worked, you know, while you were gone. I had a good job before I married Albert. I made decisions. I functioned on an executive level.
Better being stuck with me, is that what you mean?
No, that's not what I mean. I love you. You know that. You must know that. Why else are we together?
We're going to stay together. I'll take care of anyone who comes between us again.
In Richmond, I found a company, the Dixie Jewelers, which bought and sold old jewelry. The man was nice and honest, but I was shocked at what I received for my cluster diamond earrings.
How much did you get?
$600. They were insured for $3,500.
Where are we going now?
You decide. You tell me where you think we should go.
Mexico? We can get into Mexico and live there together. They'd never find us.
Do you speak Spanish?
No.
Well, I don't either. You'd be terribly conspicuous.
Well, then you decide. You pick a place. Just so we're together, that's all I want. That's all that's ever mattered to me. You think everything's going to be all right?
Why do you ask? Aren't you sure?
I don't know. I'm no longer sure of anything. Those years and all those years, they take it away from you.
Police work takes a lot of sweat and a bit of luck. We got our first break because New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut cooperate closely on car information. A woman answering Mercedes Turner's description had bought a used car in Jersey City, Jersey plates. When we checked out the name and address she'd given for transfer of title, we found there was no such person and no such address. A teletype to the Delaware State Bridge Authority brought us further information. A trooper remembered the car because it was driven by a man with flaming red hair. The car had crossed the bridge at the end of the Jersey Turnpike. From there, it might have gone into Delaware, Maryland, or Virginia.
Put out the car description and the Jersey plate numbers.
Good.
So there really is a red-haired man, huh?
No ghost, a real live person. Hugh Rohan. I checked the registrar at his college.
Annixter?
Right. Got his records. Applied for entrance 1964 pre-med. Excellent grades, high school, Germain, Illinois. Lacking credits in Latin and chemistry, admission denied. Which isn't unusual for students from small-town high schools.
Well, how'd he make it up?
Tutoring, usually.
And that's what happened to Rohan, huh?
No, he didn't have the chance. Wasn't in school, so he was eligible for the draft.
Oh, lousy.
Instead of going to Annixter, Rohan went to Vietnam.
Some gifts don't do anything, but Presto gifts do almost everything.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her the famous Presto pressure cooker. It'll cook a surprising number of things for her surprisingly fast. 3 times faster than pots and pans.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her Presto's jumbo fry pan. Big enough for a complete dinner for 8. And the handles are removable, so it's easy to clean and store.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her an easier way to broil. The brand new Presto vertical broiler broils both sides at once, then comes apart for easy cleaning. This year, give the gifts that do almost everything. Give Presto gifts.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
The Zero Hour continues after this.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful forest where everything was all lovely and green and peaceful. Sunlight fell in ribbons of daylight through its trees. Birds flew in the quiet air above it. Deer and rabbits found secret hiding places to play, for it was truly a beautiful place. And then one day, into this beautiful emerald forest, a new creature came, the creature called man. And man brought with him fire to warm him against the night. Only with his fire, man did not bring caution, and the fire got away from him suddenly. And the beautiful forest was no more. And yet there might easily be a different ending. For if man is careful with his fire, he need never say, once upon a time, there was a beautiful forest.
We drove all day under a sky the color of gray worsted. Occasionally the wind tore narrow rifts through the overcast for a watery sun to peep through. We stayed that night at a motel. Our room was as impersonal as a rented locker. We tried having a drink to help us forget everything that had happened. It didn't work.
Are you sorry you came?
No. I had to come. You can't be sorry for what had to be.
It's dark out.
Yes. What are you listening for?
Do you believe in extrasensory perception?
I don't know. Sometimes, maybe. But it'd take a lot of proving.
I had a feeling this afternoon, sudden, sort of peculiar, odd, like intuition. A message said, the chase has started. They're looking for a couple.
There's no way you can know that.
Oh, yes. Yes, there is. The Khans used to talk about it. I didn't believe it. But I do now.
No. There's no way you know that's true.
It's like telepathy. As if some cop's thoughts are being transmitted to me. Not all the time. Just now and then. Just a little bit. Now and then.
Where are you going?
There's a car parked out there. Michigan plates. I'm going to get rid of our Jersey ones.
Here are the records and Rohan's prints from his Army induction. Disappeared on a patrol in Vietnam in 1965. Missing in action, presumed dead.
We get anything on our wanted flyers?
I think we did, Will. A couple of days before Albert Turner was shot, 3 Khans broke out of Bodo prison in Canada. Now, 2 of them were recaptured, but one is still at large. And that one's got red hair.
What name?
John Red Cargill. Seaman's papers. 3 to 10 for false passport, illegal entry, and smuggling. He'd served 7 when he split. Cargill's prints match Rohan's.
Picture of Cargill?
Correspondence Bureau received a telephoto copy of him from Montreal. Right here.
Yeah. It's funny, I knew he'd look like this. Good features, clean cut, sun-sleep mouth, eyes. I could see him in my mind.
Yeah. Guy like that, 7 years in prison. Probably crack open pretty easy. But, well, the trouble is, we don't really know if he shot Albert Turner.
Rohan and the Clinton girl were married when they were kids. Their old man annulled the marriage. Wait a minute. And the woman's safety deposit was opened.
What's the matter? What's going on?
This list of contents. Insurance policies, empty silk jewel case, title to co-op. Here we are. Why would she keep an empty envelope?
Oh, probably she didn't bother to throw it out.
Or maybe there was a return address on it.
Who are you calling?
Banner's DA's office. Find out if there's a name and address on that envelope.
We didn't stop again until we reached Kansas City. We had run from the Atlantic to the Midlands. Hugh's mood varied from moment to moment. Sometimes he was cheerful and optimistic, and I had hopes, against my better sense, that perhaps something would work out for us. But then he'd plunge into gloom and despair. And try as I might, I could see no future for us except to run until we were caught. Perhaps he felt the same way in that tiny Kansas City hotel room. Oh, Hugh, please put that gun away.
I need it. Reminds me of prison. What I may need to do so I don't go back there.
You have to get rid of it. It's direct evidence.
I won't let matters get that far. Why did you marry Turner?
I told you why. You were gone so long. I tried to convince myself that I didn't love you anymore. But the moment you came back, it was the same way it had always been. Isn't that enough?
But now you're... What do you think? What are you thinking? That I'm different? That I'm not the same?
We've both changed, darling. I no longer know what you think or feel either. Both of us together, possibly we can make one whole person.
Banners in the DA's office gave me the name on the empty envelope we'd found in Mercedes Turner's safety deposit box, Sayer and Bates Attorneys. I talked to Arnold Bates, a junior partner. He was very cooperative. He told me he'd handled an Enoch Arden decree for Mercedes Clinton against Hugh Rohan not quite 2 years earlier. The marriage had been secret, and Mercedes Clinton Rohan had wanted the decree kept secret. Her father was an old man in poor health, and she hadn't heard from her husband Hugh in 7 years. He was presumed dead.
You mean they were married a second time?
Right. After Lyman Clinton had the first marriage annul, they were married again secretly, just before Rohan was sent to Vietnam.
Where he goes out on a patrol and disappears.
To service again in a Canadian jail under another name.
Uh-huh. Well, whatever names they use, Will, we got a description, we got his prints, and we know their car. We're gonna get him.
Yes, I think we will. Any reports on the jewelry?
Not yet.
Keep after it. They're gonna need money.
During the day. For tonight, the temperature for Kansas City and vicinity should dip to 39 degrees. It will be cloudy tomorrow with a chance of snow flurries.
How long are we going to stay here?
Oh, another day or so.
Gotta move on. Get out of the country.
We need money to do that. Hugh, don't the police get reports on pawned articles?
Yeah. So I've heard.
Instead of pawning my things, I'll run an ad in the paper and sell them myself.
That's dangerous.
No, I don't think so. Kansas City is a big place. The police won't pay any attention to a newspaper ad.
And then we'll move on?
Yes. Hugh, I promised I wouldn't ask you about prison, and I'll keep that promise.
I don't want to talk about it.
But we must get out of the country. To do that, we'll need passports.
Well?
Do you know anyone? Someone who could get us passports?
In prison, I knew...
We have to leave the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I know someone who might. But, it's expensive.
We'll get the money. We have to buy passports. I think we've run as far as we can.
You are listening to Mutual's presentation of The Zero Hour.
VISTA means Volunteers in Service to America.
I started out as a business major in college. I graduated as a business major. I got into VISTA because I wanted to really do something. I chose this as my line, and when getting into it, it changed my whole life. I went through cultural shock. I found out what types of people really need the help and what's really happening in our country in the back areas. There is so much to be done, but I could say that if a person anywhere has an interest in doing something, there are programs for them. VISTA is one viable means, but there's so many ways of really getting involved with people. VISTA gave me my first start to work with the problems happening in this country and to really get down to earth and work with the people that need it.
Volunteer for VISTA. VISTA is one part of action. Action is doing something.
There is something you can do. Get into action.
There's a disease in business today we might call spiritual schizophrenia. You see it in individuals who apply one code of conduct in their personal affairs and a quite different one in business or government. The belief seems to be that we are less responsible as individuals when we make business decisions, that business has a different code. When you think about it, that doesn't make sense. Profits are not the only gauge of business success. Business doesn't change the priority of values. We are born to the community of man first. The others are secondary allegiances. Make your personal morality work where you work and see the difference. The community of man, God's club. Be an active member. This message has been brought to you by Religion in American Life in cooperation with this station.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. I'm Rod Serling.
Today's episode brought to you in part by Quaker State Motor Oil and National Presto Industries. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
You have been listening to The Zero Hour, a presentation of the Mutual Broadcasting System in association with Hollywood Radio Theater. Heard every weekday at this time. Rod Serling is your host. Zero Hour is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. The Hollywood Radio Theater theme was played by Ferranti and Teicher and is now available on United Artists Records and Tapes. Hugh Douglas speaking. Tune in tomorrow. And once again,
rest your eyes and listen here
to The Zero Hour.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Exercise your imagination. This week, Bill S. Ballinger's best-selling novel, In the Pursuit of a Damned Couple. The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. Starring Patty Duke-Aston, John Astor, and Howard Duff. In Elliott Lewis's production of The Zero Hour.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
Contact and the makers of Kodak cameras. This is the 0 Hour on Mutual Radio.
Hugh Rohan has returned after having been missing for 7 years to find his wife Mercedes married to Albert Turner. In a confrontation, Rohan panics and kills Turner. Mercedes, still in love with the red-haired man, flees with him, paying for their escape by selling her jewels. As their flight continues, Rohan subtly changes, losing his assurance, his confidence, even much of his ability to make decisions. Assigned to the case are 2 New York City detectives, Scores of homicide, and Williams of the 19th Precinct. They have been painstakingly putting together the puzzle of Albert Turner's murder by tracing Mercedes Turner and Hugh Rohan's earlier life. Their trail has taken them from New York to Connecticut to Virginia. But first, this word.
I'm Lucille Maness, an unsuccessful big businesswoman, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my unsuccessful business. Well, I was the co-founder of this women's book club, but we ran into a little trouble. We had all kinds of problems, so I called SCORE. That's the Service Corps of Retired Executives. They're retired executives who
volunteer to help small businesses. I went over and discovered Lucille was in deep trouble. I made several simple business suggestions. I also strongly recommended the club seek incorporation with a well-established women's magazine until its membership increased sufficiently.
Unfortunately, one of my associates really didn't like the idea of a man giving us advice, so she wrote herself a check with the remainder of what we had left in the treasury and took off. Well, Mr. Krause came back to help again.
A man who knows how to solve problems likes to keep solving.
Volunteer for SCORE. SCORE is one part of action. Action is doing something.
There is something you can do. Get into action.
Time is what's needed in police work. Time for lab work, time to check out clues, time to find witnesses, time to get replies to the hundreds of flyers that are put out to locate stolen or missing property. 2 weeks after Albert Turner's murder, the Missing Property Bureau called me regarding a batch of jewelry bought by a New York wholesaler. One of the items was a pair of diamond cluster earrings sold to the New York outfit by a shop in Richmond, Virginia. The earrings were those described by the insurance company as belonging to Mercedes Turner, part of the jewelry she'd taken from her safe deposit box the morning after her husband's murder. I flew down to Richmond to talk to a man named Town who'd bought the earrings from the Turner woman. If you'd look at this sketch, please, Mr. Town. Does the woman seem familiar to you?
Yes, sir, it looks like her, sort of. But, the first gentleman I talked to in New York mentioned the name Turner. The lady I wrote out a check to was a Mrs. Brewer.
As soon as the check clears, I'd like a copy of her endorsement. Compare it with our suspect's handwriting. Make sure we've got the right person.
All right. I'd be pleased to help you.
How'd the lady react to the money you gave her?
Was she disappointed, you suggested? She was indeed. But then they always are, you know. Person don't take into account markup and resale prices and so on and so on. She was disappointed, I'd say.
But she accepted your offer.
Oh, yes. We have a good reputation, whether she knew it or not. I offered her a fair price, and after a few minutes of debating with herself, she accepted the check.
Was she alone? Or was there a man with her?
She was alone, sir. If someone was with her, he stayed outside because she was alone.
We stayed in Kansas City while I advertised that my jewelry and mink coat were for sale. Where Hugh had wanted to run, to move constantly. Now, without explanation, he changed and seemed content to stay. Not content, perhaps, but at least no longer argumentative. Then one evening, we were sitting in our room having a drink together, when suddenly he began to talk about what had happened.
Stupid. You see, I always wanted to be a doctor. All my life. To help people. Not kill them. Well, you know war. You see things. There are things you have to do. Terrible things. Brutal, awful things.
The Army reported you missing in action. Then, after a few years, they told me you were presumed dead.
Well, what happened was, see, this one day, we were out on a search and destroy. I was on one flank, and it was all quiet and pretty. I remember a jet, a passenger jet, Air France, I think, flying overhead, filled with civilians going about their peaceful business. And
what happened that day, honey?
all hell broke loose. I don't know. They must have been waiting for us. I got separated. I couldn't find anyone. The air was black. Men screaming. Did you ever hear a man scream in pain?
No.
You see, it's not that I was yellow, but all that blood and terror, pain. I left there. I just wandered off.
The army didn't find you?
No way. I was like an animal, crawling through the jungle, hiding, afraid for my life. Somehow, I don't know how, I got to the coast, to where the merchant ships were anchored, waiting to get into the harbor and unload. That's where I met Cargill, a merchant seaman on the job ashore, an old tanker. He told me he'd give me his papers and get me a berth on an outgoing freighter to Montreal, if I'd help him.
Help him how?
Well, he wanted me to deliver some uncut movies to a fence there. Do you understand? You see, I didn't do it for money, not for anything, except to get away from there and get home to you. That's all I wanted. Do you understand?
Yes, Hugh. Of course. But how?
Exactly. How? That's where it all comes apart. I was caught before I made the delivery. Cargill hadn't given me a package of rubies. I was carrying heroin.
Didn't you tell the police?
No. I kept Cargill's papers and shut up. You see, I thought I'd serve my time and not tell anyone, not even you, till it was over. And then we could go away somewhere, and I'd take another name. I'd study medicine and be a doctor, the way I always wanted. Look at me, Mercy.
Yes, dear.
Is it too late?
I don't know.
You don't blame me?
No.
In New Orleans, there's a man who can get us passports, but it's expensive.
We'll sell more jewelry. And someone will buy the coat.
He's after us, you know.
Who?
A cop. I told you, I know when he's onto something. It's like the two of us are connected.
Hugh, he may be after us. We don't know what they found out.
I'm going to paint the car blue. And I'm going to get another set of plates. I'll be back.
Oh, please.
Give your hand to a friend. Give your heart to your love. But give your cold to contact. The sooner the better.
Hey, I'm back. How's that cold?
Rotten. Get the contact?
I got everything. Contact, cold tablets, and this liquid.
Oh, no.
Honey, it's all cold medicine.
Well, sure, but it only takes one contact for up to 12 hours continuous relief from sneezing, drips, congestion. For that, I'd need 6 of your cold tablets.
2 every 4 hours.
Or 3 ounces of nighttime liquid.
1 every 4 hours.
Or just 1 contact. The tiny dye pills do it.
Well, it's all cold medicine.
Those others contain antipyretic analgesics. The liquid, antitussive, and alcohol. They're not in contact.
6 or 3 or 1. I choose the 1 contact.
Me too. And I'm the one with the cold.
Give it cold contact. The sooner the better.
6 or 3 or 1. When you catch a cold, take contact. Only as directed.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
Adam, where are you?
Up here, Eve, and I'm very busy inventing things.
Big deal. I invented something, too.
What?
Shoes.
What are shoes?
Watch this. I just slipped them on, and they keep my hands warm.
Hey, that's great. Want to see what I invented today?
Not that fire bit again.
Don't worry. Now I know what fire is for.
What are you putting in your mouth?
You remember that paper stuff I invented? Well, it's wrapped around some chopped up leaves I call tobacco.
You're weird, Adam.
I set fire to the tobacco thing and puffing the smoke.
What's wrong with your invention, Adam?
Lots of things.
With that fire thing, you're hot stuff.
You know something, Eve? I think you just invented the first bad joke.
This history lesson was brought to you by your American Cancer Society, which says smoking is a drag.
After we recover the earrings, I guess Mercedes Turner would confine future sales to private parties. If she'd been as upset as the jeweler described her over not receiving a retail price for her merchandise, she'd advertise and take her chance on private buyer sales. That would also apply to her fur coat. One thing for sure, they were going to need all the money they could get their hands on to keep running. I judged they might have gone south from Richmond, but figured it was more likely they'd head west to get as far away as possible from New York. I arranged with the Bureau of Information to subscribe to a clipping service covering 18 cities. Places like Louisville, Kansas City, St. Louis, Oklahoma City, through the area where I figured they'd most likely be. We wanted to look in the personal columns of those local newspapers at items for sale. There was a 3-day lag before the first clippings arrived. Scores and I began wading through a box of the stuff.
Oh, boy. Never realized so many people had so much stuff for sale.
Wearing you down, huh?
Well, it's beginning to, Will. Oh, look at this. Watches for sale. Also necklaces, bracelets, pendants, brooches, earrings. Anything your heart desires is from sale from coast to coast.
And this. Mink coat.
Turner Warren had a mink coat.
No name or address in the air, just the Jefferson Hotel, Kansas City, room 1417, and the hotel phone number.
You suppose it's them?
Plus area codes. No way you can tell where the double the call's coming from.
You're nervous, Will.
Yep.
Good morning, Jefferson Hotel.
Room 1417, please.
Will you hold? That line is busy.
Yes, I'll wait.
They ringing?
Yeah, room phone's busy. I'm on hold. Why don't you pick up the extension?
Yeah.
I can ring your party now.
Thank you.
Hello.
Room 1417?
Yes?
You the party offering a mink coat for sale?
No.
There was an ad last Sunday's newspaper advertising a fur coat for sale.
No, I don't know anything about it. I just checked in last night. Sorry.
Oh, I see. Well, get the hotel operator for me again, will you, please?
Yeah, sure.
Operator, may I help you?
Yes, operator. This is the New York police. Who was the party checked out of room 1417 yesterday?
One moment, sir. I'll check that for you.
You think it was them, huh?
Almost sure.
Sir, the party registered as Mr. and Mrs. Y.V. Garfield, North Sneedham Drive, Detroit, Michigan.
Thank you, operator.
Okay, I'll check it out with Detroit.
8-5 and even, they're phony. I'll get some more information from the Kansas City cops.
We stayed longer in Kansas City than we planned. We moved from hotel to hotel, running ads in the paper, and I sold off my jewelry piece by piece. Winter held Missouri in a bleak embrace. The city tried to cheer itself with holiday decorations, strings of lights and vivid displays from the plaza to the downtown area. But the approach of Christmas brought little joy to Hugh or me. It was then that he began to disappear for hours at a time. I assumed he was walking or reading in the library. Anything to be out of that confining hotel room.
You the store manager?
Your assistant, Davis.
The sign in your window for help?
You need a stock boy, $2 an hour.
I'll take it, Mr. Davis.
What's your name?
Tufts.
All right, Tufts. Full or part-time?
Part-time, but as many hours as I can get in.
The stock room's downstairs. Report to the chief clerk. Get a time card, punch in and out. You'll be paid every day.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Y.V. Garfield and wife, North Sneedham Drive, Detroit, didn't exist. No such persons, no such address. The KC cops furnished us with a description of the couple which fit, loosely, Rohan and Mercedes Turner, except no red hair. But I'd already figured he'd have dyed it by now. Scores and I brought our chiefs up to date, and an hour later we were on a plane to Kansas City.
You think he's still there?
Well, if not, we'll pick up the end of the string.
If they have busted out, where do you suppose he might be heading, Well, Mexico?
No, she's too smart for Mexico. They'll go out of the country, somewhere they speak English, England, Australia, New Zealand. Well, maybe not England. The cops are too good there.
Hey, think they still got the same car?
Last we heard was a gray compact, Michigan plates. That might mean something.
What?
In Virginia, they use New Jersey plates. In Kansas City, they have Michigan plates.
Might change again, huh?
Yeah. Kansas City, Missouri, just across the river from Kansas City, Kansas. My hunch is they'll pick Kansas plates.
That's obvious.
Exactly. Mercedes Turner's a cutie. Plenty smart. Not too sure about Rohan.
You really zeroed in on him, didn't you?
From the beginning. Before there was any proof, I knew he was there. I just knew what he looked like. A bit how he thinks. He's our best bet.
The weakest?
Yeah. Yeah, put it like that. Rohan's intelligent, but he's emotional. Poor control. He's going to break sooner or later. It's more of a drag than an asset. If Mercedes Turner were all by herself, that'd be another story.
The Kodak Pocket Instamatic camera is a miraculously little camera to take such big, sharp pictures. Take a pocket anywhere and everywhere your Christmas takes you. Kodak Pocket Camera. For less than $23, we couldn't wish you more for Christmas.
The Zero Hour continues after this.
Here's an important announcement for parents by Dr. Sidney Marland, Assistant Secretary for Education at the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare.
Do you have a son or daughter who wants to begin college or vocational training after high school, but there just isn't enough money? If you do, I have some good news for you. The United States government has a new program called Basic Grants to help pay for tuition, books, fees, and other expenses. The money is for full-time students enrolled for the first time at colleges or at vocational schools, technical institutes, or hospital schools of nursing. The money is a grant, not a loan. Your son or daughter must have a good education to get ahead, so don't let the lack of money stand in the way. Inquire about Basic Grants. Get an application at your post office today, or write Basic Grants, Box 84, Washington, D.C., 20044.
Gradually, I sold off the jewelry, and we began to accumulate the money we needed to get our passports and arrange for passage out of the country. Hugh, meanwhile, continued to disappear each day. But I must confess that it was easier not having him underfoot in each of those small hotel rooms we occupied.
Well, good morning. Didn't think you were going to show.
Sorry, Mr. Davis.
Christmas is day after tomorrow. So I'd be glad.
You said that working here, I can get a 20% discount?
Yes, tops anything in the store. Now, get with it. Restock counter 15 with perfume.
Yes, sir, as soon as I get my jacket.
We arrived in Kansas City before noon. The local cops gave us plenty of cooperation. We started checking hotels, big and little, good and bad, a million of them. At some of them, they remembered a couple staying a few days, running an ad to sell jewelry, then checking out. At the Jefferson, there was an unclaimed letter for the Garfields from a Mrs. Arms, return address in Kansas City. I went to check it out, but nobody was home. Downtown garages were covered for a 3-year-old gray compact with Michigan or Kansas plates. By then, it was dark. Walking to our hotel, I passed a big super drugstore. I needed some things, went in, walked back toward men's toiletries.
Can I help you?
Yes, I need a shaving kit and some blades.
How about a new electric razor?
Just blades, cream, aftershave.
Something wrong?
The man over there by the perfume counter.
From the stockroom.
Has he been here long?
Most of us are extra help for the Christmas rush. Is there anything else?
No, I don't think so. Hey, where'd he go?
Why, back to the stockroom, I guess.
Where? Where's that?
In the basement. Hey, your things! Don't you want them?
A guy just come through here?
Yeah, tough, like a rocket in his tail, same as you.
Which way?
The alley.
Rohan! Rohan! Lost him.
South now?
Yes.
New Orleans, I guess.
Not directly. Where's the map of Louisiana?
In the glove compartment.
It isn't. Oh, I remember I had it in our room at the hotel.
We'll get another one.
If the policeman had tried to arrest you in the drugstore, what would you have done?
Shot him.
Would that have helped? There'll always be another.
I'll get as many as I can.
Let me see the gun.
Okay. Be careful.
How many shots?
7. 1 in the chamber, 6 in the clip.
Hugh, look, a truck stalled up there.
Left his lights on. No one around. He probably went for help.
Stop the car. Get the Nebraska plates.
Okay. Right away.
I'll keep the gun in my purse.
At least I knew Rohan and the Turner woman were in Kansas City. Why had they stayed over? Well, I figured she was still trying to sell more jewelry. I beat it to the newspaper office. They were making out the morning edition. There was an ad, as I expected. Strobridge Hotel, room number, with a diamond bracelet for sale. When Scores and I got there, we'd missed them by half an hour. The local cops and the highway patrol sent out an all-points bulletin. Meanwhile, I went out to see Mrs. Arms and wrote the unclaimed letter. She was at home now. Pleasant-faced woman, mixed gray and blonde hair, living in a big, comfortable fieldstone house, log burning in the fireplace.
Why, yes, I went down to Mrs. Garfield's room at the hotel. I was interested in the fur coat she wanted to sell.
But you didn't buy it?
No, it was a lovely coat. I made her an offer, but she didn't take it. Well, I came home and thought it over. Later, I tried to call her, but there was no answer. So I dropped her a note offering more.
Mrs. Arms, when you were in the hotel room, did you see anything unusual?
No, nothing. Pieces of luggage, clothes, toilet articles on the dresser.
Think. Please try to remember. It may not seem important, but anything other than personal items.
Well, now, let me see. There was a writing desk, something on it, a red cover, blue and white letters, folded, a map.
Of what, Mrs. Arms? What map?
Let's see. Louisiana.
That's it. Louisiana, New Orleans.
What town is this?
I don't know. How far are we from Kansas City?
About 40 miles.
I'm worried. They must have roadblocks up further down.
We just keep going until we hit them.
No, wait. That bus in front of the cafe. Hugh, let me off here, middle of the block.
What for?
I'm catching that bus south. We have to split up here. It's the only way to get through.
Wait a minute.
No. Take this money. Meet me in New Orleans. The old hotel on Tupelo Street. Use the name Graham.
When?
Christmas. Be careful.
You are listening to Mutual's presentation of The Zero Hour.
Be prepared. Are you ready to get going? Be prepared. Are you ready to take the lead? 'Cause if you ain't, who'll take care of the futures of our sons? Well, let me ask you now, who's gonna tell them about the pusher man? Who's gonna show them how to clean the land? Who's gonna tell boy they shouldn't drop out? Who's gonna show them what it's all about? You know you can if you want to. You can if you want to right now. Well, let me lay it on you.
Let
let me tell them. You know, if you're 18 or older, you can help a lot of guys be prepared by being a leader in scouting. I mean it, fella, scouting today's a lot more than you think.
Be prepared. Are you ready to get more? Be prepared. Are you ready to take the lead? 'Cause if you ain't gonna help, he just wants to be prepared.
A message from the Council for Financial Aid to Education and this station. College students now march to a different drummer, and sometimes it seems to no drummer at all. But what matters most is that colleges continue educating. Students and their parents pay tuitions to make this possible, but the money they pay just doesn't go far enough. 2/3 of college costs must come from other sources, including contributions from friends of colleges. How can you be the friend of a college? You can believe that educating young people is the main thing, not whether they're singing football songs or folk songs. You can be willing to back up your belief with a gift, because colleges need money to march ahead. A lot of that money must come from people like you. Give to the college of your choice, now.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. I'm Rod Serling.
Today's episode brought to you in part by Contact and the makers of Kodak cameras. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
You have been listening to The Zero Hour, a presentation of the Mutual Broadcasting System in association with Hollywood Radio Theater, heard every weekday at this time. Rod Serling is your host. Zero Hour is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. The Hollywood Radio Theater theme was played by Ferranti and Teicher and is now available on United Artists Records and Tapes. Hugh Douglas speaking. Tune in tomorrow, and once again,
rest your eyes and listen here
to The Zero Hour.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
I'm Rod Serling. You're listening to The Zero Hour. Rest your eyes. Exercise your imagination. This week, Bill S. Ballinger's best-selling novel of The Pursuit of a Damned Couple. The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. Starring Patty Dugaston, John Astor, and Howard Duck. In Elliott Lewis's production of The Zero Hour.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
Quaker State Motor Oil, Alka-Seltzer, and Mem. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
And now for the concluding episode of The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. After 7 years in prison, Hugh Rohan is returned to claim his wife, Mercedes. In a confrontation with her second husband, Albert Turner, Rohan panics and murders Turner. Out of her love for Rohan, Mercedes Turner collects her jewels and her fur coat, and together the lovers flee. After long weeks of painstaking work, they've traced the couple to Kansas City. But once again, Mercedes Turner and Hugh Rohan evade them by splitting up. She to take a bus to New Orleans, he to drive their car alone. But first, this word.
I want to teach a lonely child to laugh more. I want to learn the pain of loving hard. To open my door and know my own soul. I want to be free. I want to be young, and I want to grow old.
Emily is dead now. She died in her brother's car. He was driving, and he was drunk.
I want to be here in the world when peace comes. I want to drunk because I want to grow old.
Stop driving drunk. Stop killing each other. Write to Drunk Driver, Department Y, Box 1969, Washington, D.C. for more information on drinking and driving. A public service message on behalf of the U.S. Department of Transportation.
I'd been right. Roadblocks had been set up on highways leading to New Orleans. But the police were looking for 2 people in a gray compact car. And the bus I was on was stopped only long enough for an officer to question the driver. He was waiting for me in the nearly deserted hotel on Tupelo Street. He was in bed, his temperature raging. He seemed fuzzy with his fever, although he did struggle out of bed to greet me.
So glad to see you. I thought you weren't going to come.
You sick?
No, it's just a cold. I froze driving that heap without my coat. You were right about the roadblocks.
Come on now. Get back in bed, honey.
Okay. Oh, that's better. Phew. It's hot.
I'll get some aspirin.
No, that's okay. Stay with me. That's the most important medicine. That you stay with me.
All right. What about the roadblock?
Oh, they stopped me. If I'd had my gun, I'd have shot my way through, but they didn't even ask questions. Man alone, blue car instead of gray, different plates.
You said you would have shot your way through?
I told you, Mercy, I won't go back, and I won't be separated from you again. Here. Christmas present for you.
Perfume. My favorite perfume. You remembered.
I can't ever forget anything about you.
You want me to ask where you got the money? All right. Where?
Kansas City. I had a part-time job. Stock boy.
Just to buy me a Christmas present.
Is there a better reason to work?
I think it's the best present. Oh, I have something for you, too.
A pipe. With a bowl trimmed in silver. You remembered.
Honey, remember before we were married, you told me if you had me, and you were a doctor who smoked a silver-trimmed pipe, you'd be content. That was all you wanted.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, honey. You don't, please. I feel no cry.
What happened? Mercy, what happened?
I don't know. Life happened.
It's so unfair.
Yeah.
Mercy. You remember I told you that I knew what the cop was thinking? Do you remember?
Yes.
Well, we got through the roadblock, but he hasn't stopped. He's on to us. He knows what we're planning. Yeah, no, he's going to find me. And you know?
You, please. Please.
When he finds me, I'm going to kill him.
Rohan and the woman got through the roadblock somehow. They probably repainted the car and changed plates once again. Split up, perhaps. Only one of them was in the car when it passed the block. Stores and I went straight into New Orleans. I knew my man by then well enough to know that he needed a port city from which to escape the country. Now, they'll ship out from here.
Yeah.
Well, they'll sure have a fantastic selection of ships.
They're all covered. Every ship, boat, plane, bus, everything's covered.
Well, you know, Will, you're assuming they're here in New Orleans.
They're here. I'll tell you something else. They'll be looking for passage to an English-speaking country, someplace where they won't be conspicuous.
So, what's the game plan?
We're here. We wait. They've got to move. They can't stay. And the moment they try to leave the city, we've got them. Murder one.
Judy, do you remember what I told you about all that high-speed turnpike driving you're doing now and all that power equipment on your new car?
Yes, Caleb?
About how they can make your engine so hot that the oil thins down so it may not protect your engine?
Yes, Caleb.
Now, how do you tell if your oil's too hot?
Just watch the temperature gauge.
Nope. That just shows how hot the radiator fluid is.
Oh, I know. When the oil's too hot, that little red light goes on.
Nope. That just tells you the oil pressure's too low.
Well, how do I tell if my oil's too hot?
Fact is, you can't.
Then how do I know my engine's protected?
Make sure you're using quality oil like Quaker State. Quaker State's specially made to stand up to high engine heat so it can keep right on protecting like an oil's supposed to.
Is that the reason you always recommend Quaker State?
That's one reason.
Quaker State your car to keep it running young.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
200 million people live in America today. Within 30 years, our population is expected to increase by 50% to 300 million. President Nixon, in his recent congressional message, expressed concern over the impact of population growth on the quality of life in America. Specifically, the burdens it will place on education, health, transportation, employment, housing, and our natural resources. At our present rate of growth, we would have to build a city the size of Tulsa, Dayton, or Jersey City every 30 days for the next 30 years to accommodate these additional 100 million Americans. A Planned Parenthood study shows that our population growth can be slowed if voluntary family planning help is made available to every family that wants it. Planned Parenthood provides family planning help all over America right now. Overpopulation, it's everybody's problem. Support Planned Parenthood.
We moved from the hotel the next morning, although Hugh still had a fever. I found an old rooming house, a private place the police would overlook. We were the only paying guests. It was a marvelous old home run by an ancient Southern lady who appeared too frail to keep up such a place. But she cleaned and cooked and tended her overgrown garden. And for 2 weeks, Hugh and I didn't stir from that house. Finally, of course, Hugh had to make contact with Bert Crossley, the convict he'd known in prison, the man who'd get us our passports. We were disappointed to find that Bert was back in prison. But he had a brother, Fritz, who owned a bar just outside the Vieux Carré, and might be able to help us. Hugh went to see him.
Friend of Brother Bert, huh? Come on back to my office. What do you want?
I served time with Bert in Bordeaux. I'm Red Cargill.
Let's get rid of a question. You hot?
Plenty. I and my wife want to get out of the country.
With a lady along, that makes it rough.
I can pay for it, rough or not.
You have $5,000. That's what it'll take for 2 passports.
I have it.
Where do you want to go?
Australia, New Zealand, any place you speak English.
England?
No, not England. Or Canada.
Okay. Don't come back here again. Where can I reach you?
At this number. That's where this stands.
I don't know how long it'll take, but when I call you, be ready to move fast. And have the $5,000 ready. Agreed?
Yes, agreed.
George and I sat there for 3 weeks. There was no sign of Rohan or the woman. Hotels, nightclubs, planes, trains, buses, ships, all covered, not a trace. I wasn't worried yet. I knew Rohan was someplace in the city. I could feel it. Sometimes he seemed so near, I half expected to bump into him around the next corner. Scores, however, had a problem.
I gotta get back, Will.
Homicide bugging you?
Well, the office is swamped.
When are you leaving?
Flight this afternoon. What about you? You gonna stay?
You can depend on it.
We waited for Whit Crosley's call, afraid to leave the house for a minute. One of us must always be close to the phone, Hugh said. As the days passed, he refused to sleep, certain that Crosley's call would come in the middle of the night and he wouldn't hear it. And so his tension increased directly because of his lack of sleep. He paced the room continuously, back and forth, pausing only to listen for a telephone that never rang. Please, honey, please lie down.
Has that cop gotten to him? Is that what's happened?
How could he?
Because he knows what I'm doing. I told you that. I told you he knows everything I think, every move I make.
Hugh.
Hello?
Cargill?
Mercy, it's him. Listen. Yeah.
Get down here right away. You're leaving in an hour. Just you.
But my wife.
Listen, no time to waste. Can't get you to Australia, but a ship I know. They're standing off. Going to drop a crewman for an emergency operation. I can fix the captain.
Where to?
Ireland. You better take it. The ship's not berthed here, but I can get you aboard in the launch. She's got a day's call at Miami, and your wife can join you there.
Percy?
Take it. It's a good idea.
Okay, I'll be right down.
After Scores left, I spent my time haunting the docks. 100 times I thought I saw them, walking along the street or hurrying out onto a waiting ship, but it wasn't them. And gradually, a strange feeling occupied me. I lost the conviction